Requesting all the conference participants, delegates, panelists to kindly occupy the first few rows. The students will be occupying the later rows. Yeah. Keep your mobile on a silent mode. It's a pleasure to have all of you here at the inaugural function of the three-day conference on managing sustainable transitions in agriculture, newer directions for research and civic action. I'm Shambhu Prasad, a faculty at IRMA and one of the conveners of the workshop. So we'd like to start by inviting our distinguished panel members who would be speaking today. So starting with, I'd like to first invite Professor Umakant Dash, our director. Please come, sir. And we'd like to welcome all our dignitaries with a small token of appreciation from the Raskum Producer Company, which has been also looking after issues on sustainable agriculture. We'll get to know more about them. I'd like to invite our chairman, Sri Dr. Minesh Shah, to kindly join us on the dais. Please come. We have a set of speakers today, so I'd like to start with inviting Dr. A.R. Vasavi, who runs an organization called Punarchit and has been the co-founder of the Network of Rural and Agrarian Studies, one of the co-organizers of this workshop. Dr. Vasavi, please come. I'd like to now invite Sri Sarvadaman Patel, who runs the Baikaka farm, and we will be also having a field visit on the third day to his farm to learn about principles of biodynamic gardening. Welcome, sir. We are very happy to have Sri C.K. Timbadiyaji, the Vice Chancellor of the Gujarat Natural Farming Science University. Welcome, sir. We'd like to welcome Sri Apurva Oza with the Aga Khan Foundation. Apurva is an alumnus of IRMA and an old hand, and we're now seeing him in a new avatar with the Aga Khan Foundation. Welcome, Apurva. And finally, we would like to welcome Sri Bharat Bhushan Tyagiji, a well-known organic farmer and the recent recipient of the Padma Shri. Welcome, sir. I'd like to now invite our director, Professor Umakant Das, to kindly invite provide the welcome note for the three-day conference. Welcome, sir.
Respected Dr. Vasvi, Punarchit and co-founder of NRA's Network of Rural and Agrarian Studies, Dr. Timbadiyaji, VC of Gujarat Natural Farming University, Sri Apurva Oza from the Aga Khan Foundation and proud alum of IRMA, Dr. Minesh Shah, Chairman IRMA and NDDB, and Padma Shri Sri Bharat Bhushan Tyagiji, Sri Sarvanand Patel ji, we thank you for accepting our invitation and taking out your precious time to be part of the inaugural session. I welcome all the delegates and participants to the Institute of Rural Management, Anand. IRMA, a leading institute in the field of rural management, started in 1979 by none other than Dr. Varghese Kurian, known as the Milkman of India, with a vision to professionalize all the organizations and institutions which are working in the rural areas or for the vulnerable section of the society. With more than 4,000 change makers, the alums, who are there everywhere in all the spheres of the sectors, and with collaboration with states from down south to north, east to west, and with all the leading cooperative sectors, this institute is marching ahead in its trajectory. I'm happy that IRMA is hosting the International Conference on Managing Sustainable Transition in Agriculture, Newer Directions for Research and Civic Action. I also congratulate Dr. Sambhu and his team members for putting the conference in a short span of time, and we acknowledge the contribution of NRAS and the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, for their cooperation, for being partners and collaborators in shaping important conversations facing Indian agriculture today. India continues to lead the world production of milk, Anand being the milk city, and millets, second in production of rice, wheat, and fruits and vegetables. The production of most of these commodities, though, is coming with a increasing ecological footprint and rapidly declining soil health and increasing input cost. The bargaining for fertilizer and food subsidy bills, the excessive use of groundwater, and the polluted airs are indicators of the systemic crisis. Therefore, a transition towards sustainability is not a fad, but a crying need for the India's small and marginal farmers and consumers, requiring significant changes in the way we look at the food systems. Transitioning towards an agroecological paradigm requires research that goes beyond traditional and conventional academic discipline boundaries. Engaged forms of multi- and transdisciplinary inquiry requires investing in a participatory and co-evolved processes. Building on the work of NRAS in exploring alternate paradigm on agriculture, beyond productivity and populism, and IRMA's small farm income project spearheaded by Professor Sambhu Prasad that looks at farm income from the lens of civic action and sustainability. This international conference seeks to build a network of scholars and development practitioners focusing on sustainable transition in agriculture. Internationally, there has been active networks and research platforms exploring the nuances and contours of sustainability transitions and its different dimensions. This research across innovative niches, regimes, and landscapes has recognized the need for both technical and social innovations and even social movements to aid this transition towards sustainability in agriculture. The MST 2023 conference seeks to deepen conversation across disciplines and actors on various processes and practices to enable better articulation of a new paradigm for agrarian change in India that is both socially and ecologically valuable. The response, I was told, was magnificent, with almost 108 papers from 82 institutions across 8 different tracks. Interestingly, nearly 45% of the papers came from outside the academia, from development practitioners, civil society organizations, and few think tanks. Over the course of the next 3 days, the conference participants would discuss, deliberate, and debate various issues confronting Indian agriculture, and importantly, have an opportunity to learn through 4 carefully curated panels on sustainability and tribal agriculture, women farmers, research directions in agroecology, and scaling options for natural farming and agroecology. The over 115 registered participants belong to 75 institutions, and we are happy to have such a diverse audience at IRMA. I do hope that the serene atmosphere at IRMA will help forge newer collaborations on a topic of greater interest in India today. We began these, I remember this particular seed was sown during our centenary celebration of Dr. Varghese Kurian, and it took almost 3 years to what we see today. The government of India has since taken up natural farming in a big way, with several states, including Gujarat, leading the way. The national mission, which we call PM Pranam, is an example of sustainability transition in agriculture that incentivizes states a shift away from chemical farming towards natural farming. A large-scale transition requires many simultaneous activities and, importantly, champions farmers for the framing the community. We are fortunate to have amidst us Sri Sarvadaman Patel, the founder of the Bhaikaka Organic Farm, and our keynote speaker, Sri Bharat Bhushan Tyagiji, joining us to share the insights. As researchers, we will have to work with the organic farmers and civil society organizations across the length and breadth of the country to better understand the institutional dimensions that hinder and innovations that enable the transition towards sustainable agriculture. I hope the conference will not only throw up interesting insights and research ideas, but also help forge greater collaboration with natural and social scientists on the one hand, and the academic development practitioners, farmers, and civil society organizations on the other. IRMA has been at the forefront of shaping newer ideas on cooperatives, natural farming, resource management, rural livelihood, producers organizations, social enterprises, to name a few domains. And I hope the conference will help attract greater interest in these important fields. I would like to thank the Ford Foundation for this consistent support that made this conference possible, and hope that all you have a fruitful time over the next 3 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Dash, for the warm words of welcome and also the consistent support you've given us to manage this program in a very short span of time. We'll now move to the next part of the program today, which is we're going to have two small launches of the kind of work that has been happening before the conference. So we would like to start with the book release or a compendium of blogs, and I request all the dignitaries to open the volume that you have in your kit. And I also request all the people who have contributed to this, Abhishek Saxena, Shubha Kadke, Ankit Kumar, Saili Dongre, Minhaz Amin, Anish Mohan, Asmita Chaudhary, and Parthsarthi, and a few others who aren't with us. But can you all please also come over to the stage and we can launch this volume together. Thank you all for your contribution to this volume. This is called Towards Learning Alliances in Agroecology. And Min, please come, please come. Aditya? We have a very brief video which will describe the evolution of the book and the nature of academic engagement with development practitioners and civil society organizations across. Thank you very much. Just a few words on how this book came about. In the last 2.5 to 3 years, I think the team has put together about 93 blogs. And it started off during Corona when we were planning to do a lot of field visits, and it so happened that none of us could travel. We were planning on a book which Dr. Kanitkar will be talking about later, that was on farmer-producer organizations. But it started off by writing a few blogs by each of us. The authors who were to contribute to the Farming Futures book started writing blogs first before they wrote their detailed case studies. But soon we realized that there is a great need for insights from the field, which needs to be reached out to a wider audience. So we started providing, support to the interns that we had as part of the Verghese Kurian rural internship. People like Vasavi and others have supported many of the students coming from different parts of the country, to spend time with civil society organizations working on agriculture. And we wanted to capture their own voices on what they see, youngsters engaging in the field. And soon enough, it transformed into converting field notes or a report into a blog. And this process went on for quite some time. We, of course, there was a lot of focus initially on farmer-producer organizations, and we have about 45 blogs on FPOs specifically. This collection also has 4 or 5 of those. Some of this followed from the Strategic Management Forum conference that we had last year. But more specifically, and just a few words on each of these elements in this book towards learning alliances in agroecology. So we believe that problems of climate change, livelihoods, and its impact on farmers across the country, small and marginal farmers, farmers who are women in tribal regions, etc. All these problems are very complex problems, and it requires many people to work together. So usual emphasis in an earlier paradigm was to try and focus that the farmers are the only ones who need to change and learn. But I think we are dealing with a situation where every one of us, academic institutions, extension workers, research universities, should learn and should learn together. And we would like to create an alliance and foster an alliance where we can have conversations on the deeper insights that is required for the transformation in agriculture. We started off 2.5 years back by Apurva Oza was there when we talked about trying to understand what does it take for farmers in Gujarat or in other states to move? What's the status of the curriculum currently? If the government of India is changing the curriculum, how do we try and take up ideas that is designed in the curriculum in many civil society organizations? How can civil society organizations work with government agencies and research establishments? Why should research establishments learn from the field? So the general process has been to try and document what we see happening on the ground through field visits. That's what we've captured a bit. And also many of these events, there's the Kisan Swaraj Mela and many other kinds of events that are happening. Or an innovative training program, I'm sure both Timbardia ji and Apurva will talk about it. So what are the kinds of institutional innovations that can make more and more people work together? And I think the academic institutions have a very important role in enabling these kinds of knowledge dialogues. And we have opened our doors wide so that all of you can also contribute. Students who finished their managing collectives courses last year contributed one of their insights that they found while they were visiting an FPO. So we would like more and more people to start writing. And soon enough, we realized English cannot be the only language in which we bring out our blogs. We had our first Gujarati blog, thanks to students from the Lok Bharati University who helped us quite a bit in understanding the spread of organic farming and natural farming in the state of Gujarat. So they wrote in Gujarati, then people started writing in Hindi. Their own articles have been translated quite a bit. Pramel's work is one of the most visited sites. So all of this is one way by which academics can contribute to an ongoing movement. And we do hope that the conference is one way by which we have these conversations across different kinds of actors. And the book is an invitation to all of you also to contribute to future blogs so that we come out with greater insights on how do we take agroecology forward. So with these few words, we'd now like to invite Dr. Ajit Kanitkar to the dais. Dr. Ajit Kanitkar is an old faculty at IRMA and active collaborator with us. And together with Dr. Kanitkar, myself and Deborah Datta, we have edited a volume on farmer-producer organizations. And I'd like to invite all the case authors, Sachin Oza, Astad Pastakia, Neeraj Joshi, Parth Sarthi, Abhishek, Shilpa, please come. Unfortunately, we don't have as many copies of this as It's a prize publication of Routledge, so we have a few copies. So we'd like to have the book launch of the Farming Futures book at Anand. We will have more discussions on the book. There are 1 or 2 papers today in the conference as well. This conference is not focused on FPOs, but we thought that this is a great opportunity for us to also talk about the processes that went into, into making this volume. And we will now have a brief launch of the book, after which Dr. Ajit Kanitkar will talk to us about the book as well.
Here is one.
There's one here.
Yeah, so can I request all of you to help me hold the book? I'll hold it. Yes, yes. Shilpa, you'd like? Shilpa, otherwise, I think there's a glass there. Can you just move the side? That might be easier too. Please come. Thank you very much. I'd like Dr. Kanitkar to talk to us briefly about this book. Ajit, over to you.
Good morning to all, dignitaries on the dais, colleagues and friends in the audience, IRMA students included in that. A good moment for me to be on the dais after Corona. Before Corona, we had another book launch. The book was on social enterprises in agriculture. Before I start a little bit about the book, a deep sense of gratitude for the place, for the institute and the people who built this institution. I had the fortune of being a faculty member a number of years ago, 1992, 1995. And what I am today in life, in my profession, as a person, a lot of that foundation actually happened here. So whenever I come back, it's kind of return to the roots, so to say. What I learned here in those 4.5 years, I still carry fond memories. So a deep gratitude for what the institute offered to me as a person, as a professional. This particular book is interesting. It's a different book. Professor Shambhu talked about collaboration. He talked about the word alliance. He also shared, Director Das mentioned about co-learning. So this book is an interesting culmination of professionals and practitioners coming together over a period of 18 months, pre-Corona and also during Corona times. And the idea was that theory and practice has to go together. And the word that I often used and I've heard in many seminars is that some of us who are in teaching theory have to be active practitioners, and those who are in practice need to be active reflection, doing reflection. So in a way, the book is a joint effort where those who are teaching theory and those who practice come together for a specific activity and sort of learn together. And as a result, we have a set of 15 case studies on farmer-producer organizations, 12 of them actually farmer-producer organizations, and 3 of them federations, 1 each from Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. When I studied for my studies, there was a common phrase that was being quoted by our professors because that was a time of cooperatives. And the phrase that was doing the rounds as a result of a particular report was that cooperatives have failed, but cooperatives must succeed. Cooperatives have failed, but cooperation must succeed. And of course, it was not reference to the Gujarat cooperatives, but generally the state of cooperatives all over the country. I think if you replace the word cooperatives with farmer organizations, I think all of us are desperately searching for appropriate farmer institutions to really reach what is called as the Antyodaya, the last person on the ladder, the last man and the last woman, the last person in the ladder. And everybody is struggling. We thought SAG were the way, somebody thought federation was the way, some others thought farmers clubs were the way. During the 60s, one thought cooperative was the way. And now for the last 10 years, we are thinking farmer producer organizations are the way. Of course, there will be multiple institutions, and farmer producer organizations, 10,000 of them the government wants to produce, incubate in 4 to 5 years' time. This is one of the many options where one can actually reach the farmers who are really at the last stage on the ladder. And our effort was to actually document the challenges, the opportunities, the struggles, and successes. I must mention that the book is not about outliers in terms of success study. There are many beautiful outliers which are extraordinary successes. This book is about ordinary FPOs, and I deliberately use the word ordinary FPOs. They are FPOs that we see every now and then. They are struggling. They are organizations in making. They have not beautiful balance sheet to show in terms of 500 crores of export earning. They have 2 crore, 3 crore, 5 crore balance sheet. We have detailed financial information. But our effort was to portray that struggle, that process of incubation, managing, growing, the challenge of finding the human resources, the challenge of finding financial resources, the challenging of finding one's place in the overall business environment, the whole business dimension of it. And the case studies actually narrate that and give justice to their trials and tribulations. So it's not a book of exotic FPOs, if I may use the word. And our effort was to actually portray this learning through an interaction of academicians and professionals, and that we tried to do that. There's a lot of information available in the book. A few chapters are available on the internet for free download. And our effort is that through this particular journey of co-creation, we will generate that knowledge which is actually used both by practitioners and by academicians. I've been given a few minutes, and so my last point is that when I taught here, we had a beautiful concept called faculty-student collaborative research, where students and faculty spend time in the field. And transition is the theme of today's conference. Everybody is talking about IA, machine learning, deep learning, and so on and so forth. So I think Indian agriculture, the new form of IA, Indian agriculture is also in transition, and I think this is the right time for IRMA. Director Saab mentioned about 43 glorious years of IRMA. I think these PRM students, I'm deliberately addressing them beyond the book. You are the Amrutkal PRM batch. If you may like to cherish your batch as PRM 43 or PRM 42, you are actually the Amrutkal PRM. So probably 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the line, when you look back at Indian society, Indian agriculture, what you got in IRMA, I think that would be the time to really say that, okay, this is what we contributed. And therefore, like Industry 5.0, I think IRMA also needs IRMA 5.0, and IRMA 5.0 for IRMA PRM Amrutkal batch for a new agriculture which is in transition. So thank you once again, a deep sense of gratitude to the Institute, and I will be looking forward to the conference.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajit Kanitkar. It's been a great pleasure collaborating with you, and you bring a lot of energy that many of people in the group have seen through your morning walks and all the conversations we've had over the last few years, this book and the book earlier as well. We now move to, brief addresses by our dignitaries on the dais. I'd like to start with inviting Dr. A.R. Vasavi, who retired from the National Institute of Advanced Studies a few years back, has been the founder of one of the founders of the Network of Rural and Agrarian Studies, and runs an organization called Punarchit. So she'll be talking to us about agriculture in the time of 3 emergencies. Over to you, Dr. Vasavi.
Thank you. I'd like to first congratulate Shambhu Prasad and all the wonderful IRMA team for putting this gathering together, which has brought so many of us from various parts of India and including other parts of the world. I think we are here together to think about pathways towards what we think should be the challenge to the dominant model of industrial chemical agriculture and all the depredations that it has spread across the world, not only in India. But as we do this for India, I'd like to call attention to two issues, which is the need for us, even as we think about transitions towards sustainable models, to think about those models as not a singular model or in a singular form of agroecology, but towards that of multiple types of agricultures. Because if you look at history and if you look at, and I know many of you as researchers have already recognized this and you all will be explicating this over the three days, is that it is the diversities of agricultures and the viability over many centuries that really is the strength of our nation. To look at this then, to retaining this diversity and then in some ways scaffolding it in the contemporary times, I'd like to flag three emergencies which are very important, in which all agriculture either has a practice or the system of agriculture, the social, political economy that needs to support it, needs to be highlighted, or agriculture must be contextualized in addressing these three emergencies. These are the emergencies of inequality, the emergency of the erosions of democracy, and of course of global climate change or global warming, which is relevant for much of the world. So in the context of India, we know that the emergency of inequality has been highlighted more recently, but the extent to which even in the post-COVID phase, we have the fact that only a few hundred families or so own something like 60% of all the resources and of capital in India, whereas a large mass don't have access to even basic resources. In the context of rural India, this is much more exacerbated, where we know that large proportions of people don't have access to land at all, and it is only new policies and programs are helping a few farmers to emerge, not only consolidating their land holdings, but to emerge as what are called agri-entrepreneurs, who in turn are also emerging as politically as regional satraps and determining our political system. A large number of people, and I know that many of you are familiar with this, is that the landless majority and the small and marginal farmers have been excluded from these gains to resources. So new agricultural practices and policies need to recognize the need to center the needs of small landless farmers and of small and marginal farmers, to recognize them not only as farmers, but as, and going beyond this rhetoric of increasing incomes only, to recognize that to do that would be to enable access to resources, which includes not only land, but also water, but also access to new forms of knowledge and to market and to even capital. And therefore, it is the new kinds of social, the production units that include landless, small and marginal farmers that would have to determine or influence the new kinds of agricultures that need to be promoted. The second kind of emergency that which we need to look at very significantly is the erosion of democracy across the world, very well documented not only in the rise of autocrats, but of authoritarianism. And for us, the most peculiar situation in India is in which it is electoral democracy-based authoritarianism that is on the rise. This has been detrimental to rural India, and many of us who've been studying rural India have noticed that over the past 2 decades, it is the completely anti-democratic policies for rural India, especially agriculture, that has been devastating, expressed not only in the rising numbers of suicides which continue, but in policies that are promoting corporatization of agriculture. Despite the strong resistance and the official withdrawal of the 3 farm laws, we know that indirectly corporatization and therefore consolidation of holdings into mega structures is continuing. And all kinds of alternatives to agriculture then need to address this to make agricultural policy not only democratic, but to decentralize it to regional levels, to be much more representatives of the different kinds of farmers that we have across India. The final kind of emergency that we need to recognize is that of climate change, which many of you know is now expressed not only in unseasonal rainfall, which is devastating, especially for crop production, but also rising temperatures, extreme and adverse events of floods and cloudbursts, and also the increasing periodicity of droughts, all of which are having a significant impact on our food production. A fact that has not been recognized both by the central government and by the state government, where we see the populist declarations of increasing food through PDS, but without attention to the fact that nutritious food, different types of crops, their production levels have declined very sharply, and malnutrition continues to be a problem in India. So in that context, climate-specific agriculture cannot be what is being just flagged in slogans as climate-smart agriculture through new technologies, but it would have to be first to address the extinct degradation we have of soils, of water, of seeds, and of biodiversity in our agriculture. So to do all this, we would have to, again, be much more regional specific and also go down into the habitat specific. And as some of us have been arguing, that climate change action plans need to be decentralized and have to be very, very eco-specific, and there can be no single one-size-fits-all policies for India or even at the state level. So these are the three emergencies that need to be reckoned with in charting our collective, literally plowing new pathways towards sustainable agriculture. I would also try to say that unless we recognize that agriculture is the bedrock of our plurality, this tremendous diversity with sophisticated knowledge systems and skills we have, which need to be tweaked to these new conditions of both growing inequality, of eroding democracies, and the threats of climate change, we need to see that it is this plurality that needs to be recognized as our heritage. And therefore, that would be the only ways in which a more sustainable kind of agriculture and therefore more sustainable kinds of livelihoods and of life worlds of all rural citizens can be scaffolded. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vasavi, for covering a very vast ground in a rather short span of time and highlighting the broad contours around which collective initiatives have to root themselves. And any process of agroecology has to reskill farmers and others, build coalitions, strengthen democracy, and of course work towards a better climate. So we would like to hear different perspectives in our, in our introductory session today. And I think behind the success of any attempt in future is the role of some pioneering farmers who have contributed to shaping the organic farming movement in India. So as an academic institution, going further for the network as well, we'd like to take a pause and use this opportunity to honor two of these outstanding farmers who are with us today. I'd like to first invite our director to kindly present a shawl to Sri Sarvadaman Patel. And I'd like to invite the chairman of NDDB and chairman of IRMA to kindly felicitate Sri Bharat Bhushan Tyagi ji. We will hear Tyagi ji's words of wisdom a bit later in the day. But we'd like to now invite Sri Sarvadaman Patel, who runs an organic farm called the Baikaka Farm. And every visit that we make to this place leaves us inspired and connected with the processes and nature. And it's always been a pleasure to interact with Sarvadamanji. So Sarvadamanji, we would like to talk about a bit of your experiences as the farmer as an experimenter and the kinds of innovations that are necessary in agroecology. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Rashad. First, I'd like to give a warm welcome to all of you who have come from outside Gujarat to come to this city, milk city of Anand. And I'm not very far away from here, 12 kilometers. The name I've given to the farm is Bhaikaka Krishi Kendra. I'm a graduate of agriculture from Pantnagar University, and then I went up to do my studies in agronomy and worked for 1.5 years in America. I got a green card in 1974 October, gave it up, and came to India to do some farming. I worked for about 18 months there, and I thought if I can do it for organic, I can do some work for an American farmer, I can surely do for myself. Didn't have much land. My father's saving. He was in the United Nations, and he spent all that money on me. A lot of people called him foolish, told him, why are you spending so much money on your child, and what experience does he have? But he had faith in me, he had trust in me. And I have never looked back from the time he did that to me way back in 1977. Before I start to talk about practice and innovations that I have done, it came gradually. It evolved itself in 23 years. I did chemical farming for 23 years, and I saw the bad effects of chemical farming, and then gradually turned to organic, and then into biodynamic farming. I really feel the biodynamic, which was taught to me by Mr. Peter Proctor, who we call the father of biodynamic in India. He came from New Zealand 26 times in 23 years. And he stayed with me for 9 months. And that was a thrust. I was not doing that great in organic. And after doing biodynamics, doing all the principles and methods of biodynamics, I found the real results. Because it includes everything holistically. Sustainability, producing your own fodder for your cows, having a way of doing it in a very method that you can sustain yourself in your own farm. So what I'll touch today, is very, for me to speak here, I'll become a little uncomfortable. If you're in my field, I'm the boss there, and I can speak for a couple of hours. But anyway, I'll do my best here. So I think soil and soil fertility is a prime thing to really get into the agroecology we are talking about. Crop management, biodynamic agriculture and biodiversity, water conservation and rain harvesting, biological nitrogen fixation by putting legumes, natural regulation of pest, most importantly, using only biological controls to control pest. Carbon sequential, irrigation practices using drip irrigation to save water, weed control. That's one of the major expense for organic farmer and biodynamic farmer. And whereas the chemical people can use weedicide very easily, we have to struggle to do it manually or in different methods. Composting, green manuring, cover crops, companion cropping, all are very important. Hedge, border trees, and windbreakers in the field. Birds, wild animals, farm workers looking at the wages and the medical issues that they have and how to support them. Local marketing of our vegetables, our milk product, and other produces. I really believe in that. I really don't want to export anything from my farm in that 40 acres. My farm is not 40 acres. I have 35 different crops growing in my farm. And literally 1 acre of one crop is the maximum I have. So I call myself a marginal farmer. I'm not, because I only grow one crop in 1 acre or half an acre. And that has really helped me to improve the agroecology of the farm. Then local marketing I talked about. So I'd like to mention, I'll start with soil fertility. Like I said, it's the first step, I feel, to improve the soil fertility. So that includes that we carry on composting. I did have 90 animals, today I have only 15. I'm trying to back off now. At the age of 75, I feel my time is kind of not very far off to back off. I have a son who is a doctor, he doesn't want to come back, and 40 acres have to be managed somehow. I was reading South Korea, I had gone, the average age of a farmer was 68 years old. Average age in UK is 63. Average age Germany is 65 or 66. In China, I visited the farms, same thing. The good farmers are all going away. And we have the modern farmers who are only using chemicals, who hardly think about the ecology of the farm. That's the trouble we are having more than anything else at the moment. These last 23 years, when I started my organic carbon, which improves the soil fertility and holding capacity of water in the soil, in 2000, when I started organic, it was 0.52. In 2010, we had a convention, Organic Farming of India had a convention of 750 people who came to the farm and stayed at the farm for 3 days, like you are having a conference now. It was all at the farm itself. That time, the organic carbon had gone up in 10 years, 1.16. And last time we measured was 2022, organic carbon is 1.44. Now, what has all this done? Increasing the organic carbon, literally we are saving about 30% water. We are having less pest and disease problems in the soil. Also the fertility, also the green manuring, many things. So many other changes have come. In fertilization, we are not thinking of only cow dung. Although we had 90 animals and they all was put in the soil. But we are trying to do experiments on cow manure, on horse manure, goat manure, sheep manure, and poultry. We're trying to find out, using all these in individual crops and finding out which crop, which vegetable does well for in which manure. We don't have to stick on. A lot of work has been done in chemical farming, which fertilizer is good for which crop. Why can't we do that? That is not being done by anyone. We really have to do which of these manures are good. I read a lot. I didn't know that sheep manure was so good. The goat, it's all the kinds of leaves all over, and it has a different each manure has a different microorganisms. Can we introduce that into our soil and really get going with it? We also use liquid manure. There's a lot of talk about liquid manure. Subhash Palekar, zero budget. That's not the only thing. It's good, but it's not the only thing. You need to do composting, you need to do green manuring. Each gets a different microorganism to the soil. We need all of them. They're just helping us. Then fertilization, like in chemical, we also do split fertilization. We're making from the shrubs and all that biochar, which is in some way helping to maintain the soil moisture and the organic carbon. Azolla production to give to the cows and the poultry. So these are all important factors in soil management. Now, crop management, we have approximately 25 to 30 crops at any time of the year. And that's the diversity that we need. We're not only looking at the diversity in the soil, but we're also looking at the diversity above us. And that is helping so much. We also sequence our crops. Literally 10 months in a year, you can get sweet corn in my farm. So it's a sequential. My farm sends all the vegetables to Baroda about twice a week, thrice a week. And we also have a portal which we supplied to National Dairy Board and IRMA and Amul and other people in Vadavinagar. So that is also important that we are doing and marketing in that way. Rotations are all followed through the biodynamic I mentioned is a very holistic view of doing things. The plant, animal, and environment is all got together and doing its sustainability, and that has helped a lot. My guru or my mentor, Mr. Peter Proctor, he would say, biodynamic farming makes organic work. A lot of people saying organic is not working, the production has gone down. But if you really want to maintain it, you really want to go on, you've got to do biodynamic farming. Water conservation. We have tried to conserve literally everything that rains. A couple of years back, we had about 58 of inch of rainfall, and we could save the entire 58 except for 15 minutes of water there was runoff. That means each plot is bundled with 1 acre each or half an acre, there are trenches all over. We don't want to lose any water, rainwater, zero TDS water. We are using the water from the well, has some salts, and they're accumulating in the soil. How are we going to wash it out? The earthworms are doing their job, but we also want the rainwater. 1 inch of rainwater in 1 acre is 1 lakh litre. And we need to do that. The small farmers need to do that. We don't want any runoff to go to the rivers and the oceans. We want that top 1/8 of an inch of the soil is the most fertile, and that we are losing. That has to stop. All legumes that we plant, we are seeing that we mix a rhizobium culture to get the maximum nitrogen fixation and more nitrogen. Natural biological control. In Anand University, we had a professor, Dr. Yadav. He worked for 32 years in biological control. And I was just talking to him. I got him to the farm a couple of times. He is a regular visitor. And he is telling me 90% of the insects are beneficial. Only 10% are harmful, are predators. And he said, if we just leave them alone, get an ecology of the forest or get a farm ecology, you will hardly have any damage. That's the biological control. I got him into the farm. He took an hour to visit all the plots, seeing what he could find. And he came out with a magnifying glass and he said, Savadaman, you got everything in the farm. We don't need to give you from the lab. The lab beneficial insects are not going to work for you that well as you have done it well. Okay? That says, so 2 things, I feel. Getting a diversity of the crops. Second, improving the soil. If the insects do come, the latest study is the insects, when they do bite, they're biting the feeble plants which are not doing well. Also, something wrong with the soil. Can we improve our soil? Can we get the organic carbon? Can we have a reflectometer showing a reading of 10 to 14 and you will not have any pest attack? And we, just to tell you, for last 8 years, we have not sprayed any botanical or herbal pesticide to my farm. We do have pest, but it's a damage is 4 to 5%, which is acceptable. Why do we have to put all this pesticide or herbicide to the soil and destroying the microorganisms? Weed control is one of the difficult things that we also have trouble managing it because we can't use herbicide in organic. So there are 3 things that we are doing. 1, to control at a very early stage of 2 to 4 leaves. Second, turning the farmyard manure or the compost 2-3 times before it goes out of the field. Also adding neem cake or bone meal, which heats up the compost and kills the wheat seed which have been remaining there. Third, applying compost. If we are doing green meal, we apply the compost before we put the seeds of green manure into the crop. So they also germinate the seeds of weeds and also the green manure crops, and they plow everything inside. Cover crops and companion crops, we do it all the time, every time. And we try to see that we have enough cover crops. We like to cover our soil at all times. Hedges and borders. trees and windbreakers. Hedges are important. The birds, in the mid-afternoon, they like to have a siesta there, like I like to have a siesta in the afternoon. Same way, the windbreakers. The wind which is coming at strong velocity is blocked, and that evapotranspiration is minimum when we have these windbreakers on the borders. We're doing that. Birds. When we started organic in 2000, my wife is a vivid study on birds. She had counted about 20 species coming to the farm. The last count of last year, she keeps going, she had 82 species in the farm. And they come and go. They're not there all the time. Some come in the winter, some in the summer. And there's a saying within the birds, if you want nutritious food, a biodynamic food, go to Baikaka Krishna PKK. You have easy, there's no visa permission required. You have a housing also free, and the water is ample there. Now we'll touch the last subject, the wild animals. Agroecology accepts or wants the wild subjects, but I'll tell you what is the drawback that we are having now. Monkeys. From all four sides we have monkeys. And what are they fond of? They're fond of the sweet corn that grows through the air. They're fond of papayas, the pigeon pea, and assorted vegetables. They like to have the 4 or 5 course lunch every day. That's the monkeys that we have. Wild boars. These are they come normally in the night, enjoy their favorite meal, potato, elephant yam, calocasia, and roots, and of course millions of earthworms. However, they say, we are digging your soil, you don't have to plow. But they don't believe in minimum tillage, which I believe. Parrots. They come from a small township, Vallavidhyanagar, not very far from here, where the Sardar Patel University is located. They take a direct flight, which is 7 kilometers, to my farm. If you come on the road, it's 12 kilometers. They like, again, sweet potatoes, pigeon peas, the heads of wheat. This town, Vallavidhyanagar, was set up by my grandfather. In 1946, he did all that. And I'm sure he didn't visualize these parrots will harm his grandson to grow good vegetable crops. Then we have the peacocks. If you come, you see peacocks, you'll be, oh, how nice. It's not really nice for us. They nibble on my alfalfa, which is 24% protein, meant for the cows only, but they like to have it. And when they nibble, when they're just growing, it's a loss of the crop. So I have to be very careful about that. And of course, the mangoes. Recently, I got some 100 chicks from the Anand University, 1 day old. I kept them. I saw that everything was tight and good. They dug a hole, went in, ate all 100. In 1 day, 1 day old, they ate it in 1 day. They didn't want to waste time. They had their own agenda. And then finally, I would like to say the bulubul, the nilgai. They come again in the night mostly. They relish the green manure crop, sunham, oats, and of course the guava. They love that also. They can jump a fence of 6 feet. My fence is 5.5 feet, and without even touching the fence. I'm wondering whether they're practicing for the Olympic Games or something, Finally, I'd like to end here. All elements are trying to tell us something. They're telling us, you are encroaching onto our land. We are not coming there. You came in, okay? So I'm in a dilemma now, and I will ask this nice public here, who come from all over India, tell me whether I should continue with this agroecological systems and innovations that I'm doing, or go to a monoculture or tobacco crop, which is more common in our district here. And to see all this, what is happening, and see I will request you to join, to come for a morning walk, which is very early for you, I think, 6:30 in the morning. These people are punishing you to come at that time, 6:30. But I'm up. I'm up. I'm walking my field every day at 6 o'clock. And I'd like to say, last, the best, Confucius said 2,500 years ago, the best fertilizers are the footsteps of the farmer on his land. And that is what I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We're just reliving our times visiting your farm, and a warm invitation from your side to visit and see what all that you spoke of and the kinds of innovations and experimentation that's gone behind it. I'd like to now invite the Vice Chancellor of the Gujarat Natural Farming Science University, Dr. Timbadia, to share his insights. This is the first organic agriculture university in the country. And Dr. Timbadia, you do have a presentation which we can share with all the participants a bit later, but over to you, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar to all of you. Sanmaniya Manch, Mine Sahaji, Adaniya Padma Shri Bharat Bhushan ji, Sarvadaman Uncle, Dr. A.R. Wasavi, Madam, Apurva Oja ji, and Umakant ji, and all of you gathered here for, I think, 3 days. I am coming from Gujarat Natural Farming Science University. You are hearing first time the name of the university. Sarvadaman Uncle is very know about the Organic Agriculture University, which was established in 2017 in Gujarat. And after the period, now we have renamed our university Gujarat Natural Farming Science University. As you know that the conference title is very, very relevant to natural farming. And we all of us very proud because here proven farmer as well as many youngsters over here to learn and to know about the natural farming. Friends, Gujarat Natural Farming University is established in 2017, located in the Panchmal district in Halol Taluka in Jambudi farm. Today, 23 hectare lands allotted to university. Our building construction is going on, and all the lands we have made clear and now under cultivation. We have started experimental side on university farm. I think I have to say about the teaching the natural farming is not only confined to research and extension, but we know we are Indian knowledge system. So Gujarat government has prepared BSc Natural Farming syllabus. ICR has formed a committee for preparing national natural farming syllabus for PG courses, and my university has recently formed for a PhD in a natural farming discipline. So all of you might be aware about the education system. Now we are going to start from coming year, And respected stage, I also share some my ideas about the approval of state level committee, that now farmer will also get degree of BSc natural farming from this university. We are going to start BSc natural farming for the farmer scientist, as already started in the Andhra Pradesh, and natural farming is proven in Andhra Pradesh, Himachal, Haryana, and now many farmers of the Gujarat have started natural farming. Sarvadaman Kaka also said about the cow. Cow, you know, in Yajurveda, Kasya matra na vidyate, gostu matra na vidyate, यानी कि ये धरती पे जो कोई अमूल्य चीज है तो गाय है. गाय के गोबर और गाय के जो मूत्र से अपना सॉइल एनरिच करने की जो नेचुरल फार्मिंग में बीजामृत, जीवामृत, घन जीवामृत, और सर्वदमन अंकल ने भी बताया कि मिश्र क्रॉप से लेके बायोडाइवर्सिटी, लाइव हेज, बहुत बड़ा इम्पोर्टेंस ये प्राकृतिक कृषि में है. सर्वदमन अंकल ने बताया 90% इंसेक्ट्स आर प्रीडेटर. We have also conducted one experiment when I was in Navsari Agriculture University, and at that time 93% insects were predator and only 7% insects were means मांस बख्शी, यानी के means vegetarian, यानी कि अपनी वनस्पति को वो खाने के लिए वो कर रहे हैं. तो इनको बचाने के लिए नेचुरल फार्मिंग में बहुत बड़ा स्कोप है. गुजरात में 8.5 लाख किसानों ने नेचुरल फार्मिंग करने के लिए सोचा है और अभी आगे बढ़ रहे हैं. थाउजेंड्स ऑफ फार्मर ने अपने फार्म पे उनका मॉडल भी बनाया है. हमने और अपूर्व ओझा जी ने एक 15 दिन का सर्टिफिकेट कोर्स किया था, उसमें भी बहुत सारे पार्टिसिपेंट ने अभी अपने मॉडल फार्म आगे बनाया है. यहाँ पर more than 70 organizations came over here for participating in the conference. I request all of you come forward with us, and in future we can collaborate for research, extension and teaching also. Today all scientists means हमारी टीम तैयार हो गई है. अभी तक सर्वदमन अंकल मैं सोलो वाइस चांसलर था, 1 साल से अकेला ये यूनिवर्सिटी में काम कर रहा था, लेकिन अभी हमारे साथ टीम जुड़ गई है. संशोधन नियामक यानी कि डायरेक्टरेट भी हमने शुरू कर दिया है, और बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ हम कन्वर्जेंस के माध्यम से आगे बढ़ना चाहता है. यहाँ पर IRMA के चेयरमैन साहब को भी मैं बताना चाहता हूँ कि 1 साल तक हम यहाँ अभी आनंद में हमारी हेड ऑफिस रहने वाली है. 1 साल के बाद वी विल मूव टू द हालोल, एंड वहाँ पर हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर भी तैयार हो जाएंगे. तो IRMA भी हमें थोड़ा सपोर्ट करे. खास करके ये ऑडिटोरियम हॉल देख के मेरे को बहुत खुशी हुई. तो बहुत सारे किसानों के लिए हम यहाँ पर कार्यक्रम ऑर्गेनाइज कर सकते हैं. बात तो ज़्यादा कर सकते हैं, लेकिन रिसर्च की आज जो ज़रूरत है, वो प्रमाणन की जो ज़रूरत है, उनके लिए हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी ने अभी सोचा है कि भी जो किसानों ने उसमें सक्सेस पाया है, खास करके पालेकर जी ने जो प्रोटोकॉल्स दिया है, आंध्र प्रदेश ने भी वहाँ और भी प्रोटोकॉल डेवलप किया है, वो प्रोटोकॉल ऑन फार्म इनपुट प्रिपरेशन का है. आज हम सब जानते हैं कि 3 लाख किसान खेती छोड़ के और व्यवसाय में जा रहे हैं. तो ये किसानों को भी अपने साथ रखने का और किसानों के लिए इंटरेस्ट पैदा करने के लिए कैसे कॉस्ट हम कर सके, कम कर सके, वो आज हमारे लिए एक चैलेंज है. उसमें हम सब आगे बढ़े. और बाकी आप सब लोग जानते हैं वाई नीड ऑफ नेचुरल फार्मिंग. जो बीमारियां और जो लाइफ अपना स्पान जो कम हो रहा है, बहुत सारी चेतावनी भी हम मीन्स हमें मिल चुकी है. यदि हम जो आगे देखेंगे नहीं तो बहुत सारी मुश्किलें आने वाली है. तो इसमें से बाहर निकलने के लिए भारतीय परंपरागत जो कृषि है, जो गाय आधारित जो खेती है, जो नेचुरल फार्मिंग का प्रोटोकॉल डेवलप करके हमने जो उसमें कुछ पाया है, सक्सेस हुए हैं, उनको हमें आगे ले जाने का है. मैं आशा रखता हूँ ये 3 दिन का जो कॉन्फ्रेंस है उसमें बहुत सारा इस पर डेलिब्रेशन होगा, और किसानों के लिए, पॉलिसी मेकर्स के लिए और रिसर्चर के लिए कुछ आउटपुट आप सब लोग बाहर निकालेंगे. बस यही अभ्यर्थना के साथ मैं शुभेच्छा देके मेरी बात खत्म करता हूँ. थैंक यू.
Thank you so much, Timbadia ji, for sharing the developments of the Gujarat Natural Farming Science University. We will share your presentation with all the participants, and thank you also for the invitation. Now that the infrastructure and the human resources are in place, we look forward to visiting and collaborating with the Gujarat Natural Farming Science University. Many of the young researchers who are here would like to also take this up, because one of the purposes of the conference is to get a collaborative work between natural sciences and the social sciences and management too. I'd now like to invite Sri Apurva Oza from the Aga Khan Foundation to talk about civil society perspectives in agroecology.
Bharat Bhushanji, Sarvadanan Bhai, Dr. Vasavi, Dr. Minesha, Dr. Das. This whole agroecology approach, natural farming approach, first of all, this thing has many names, right? Regenerative farming, natural farming, agroecology, there's a lot of names, and it's part of the problem. So it owes its existence, and I'm a very proud part of civil society. And if you look at how this whole approach has evolved, you see a very, very major role of civil society in taking this to this level where it is shaping national policies, it's shaping market forces, it's shaping everything. And it all started from individuals like Sarvadaman Bhai, Bhushanji, and my favorite, organic farmer, Kapil is here in the audience, the pioneer in Gujarat. These are people who shaped this movement, who had the courage when nobody else had the courage to do something different, where everybody called them silly and absurd and irrelevant 30 years ago, where climate change was not a word, where agroecology was not a word. At that time, these individuals stood up and, driven by their own ideology, they started experimenting, they started doing things on their farms and showed us that this is possible, this is feasible, it's doable. And I think that is what civil society does. It takes a path untrodden, it takes a path unpopular, and it goes and does things on the ground. And then the world realizes that, yes, this is also possible, this is also feasible, and we can also learn from this. So if you look at, I was asked to speak about the civil society perspective. So I thought, first let me mention the contribution to this approach. I think it's been an evolving perspective. The first perspective started with these pioneering individuals. And it took it to some distance because people used them, you visited their farms, you learned something from it. But there were limitations because farmers had many limitations in adapting this approach. Yeah? Because it's a major change, right? So then from an ideology as a driver, you then move to what we call ideology plus economics as the driver. Because as the cost of agri-input started increasing, we could point out, a lot of others could point out that this is not only great for the ecology, but it also reducing your input costs substantially. Your pesticide costs, your fertilizer costs, your seed costs, your watering cost. Sarvadaman Bhai told us all the benefits. So all these costs have come down, which are the costs which are killing the conventional farmer. The input costs is the major source of indebtedness in rural India. The bulk of the loans are taken just before the Kharif season, and then you are in debt throughout, right? So the economics as a logic came in. Then civil society realized that, you can't take it very far only on the strength of extension and role models. So they appealed to the state, and then the state moved in, and then state also added financial incentives. So you have subsidies for fodder, subsidies for bio-inputs. So nowadays, every state, Gujarat, etc., they've brought in subsidies to incentivize farmers too. So it's ideology plus incentive. But what I think, that has also taken us to about from 1 to 2% of the farmers to about 5-7% of the farmers, right? 10% maybe. But what scale requires is a system approach, and farmers are locked into a larger ecosystem of a standardized value chain, a fairly exploitative market, both for credit and for outputs. So they are locked into this. And therefore, unless you have a systems approach, you cannot scale up. And to me, the best example I know, and I'm sure there are others, but my favorite example of a systems approach is the Orissa Millet Mission. I think you're going to have a paper on this. That approach is not only extension, it's extension plus guaranteed procurement, plus processing and decentralized processing, not centralized, but decentralized processing, plus markets. So they are trying to change the whole value chain, the entire value chain. And that systems approach is creating a scale, because some farmers are not one monolith, right? Farmers are different, like you and me. So some are driven by ideology, some are driven by economics, some are driven by an ease of working. You know, I remember I went to the farm of a very famous organic farmer, and then his neighbor, just sort of about half a kilometer, or 3 farms away, I said, he was not doing it. I said, why not doing it? He said, see, that guy's got labor, he's got cattle, he can do all this. I've got nothing. So the day organic farming or your system, I give a phone call and a quality bio input bag is available to me, that is the day I will take up organic farming. Otherwise, I don't have the labor and the time to do all this. So you need a whole systems approach. So I think the evolution which has happened in the perception of civil society, and you know, Orissa Millet Mission, Vasan had a huge role to play in changing the state, bringing the market. So civil society then partners with markets, it partners with the state, then to take agroecology to a scale. So I think this evolution in thinking which has happened of civil society, that is the way in which you can have scaling up. There's another thought which I just wanted to share, is the other problem with this, why scaling up doesn't happen, is the old binary approach of assessing. So we say either a farmer is a natural farmer or he is not. While natural farming is a transitional approach. And there is a transition on practices. So you easily start with biopesticides, then you may move to biocompost, then you may move to sort of less tillage, then you may move to soil cover. So you will adopt practices as and when it works for you, as and when you feel confident. So there is a transition. It's a continuum. It's not this binary yes or no. There is also a continuum for a farmer. The farmer will start with 1 acre out of 4 acres, then move to the 2nd acre, then move to the 3rd acre. So to call a farmer natural, non-natural doesn't make sense, because most farmers are both natural farmers and non-natural farmers. They're doing 1 acre of natural farming, 3 acres, they need money, they need to sell their crops, so they'll do what everybody else does. And that is the reality. And therefore, let me come to my point, this transition we need to make is also in our thinking. Is one of the weaknesses of the civil society movement is that it has become, it others the other. So what it says is, we, the natural farmers, or we are the pure people, right? And those, the other, and that to me disrespects all farmers. Farmers do what they do for some logic. The moment you other them, you make it very difficult for you to convert them. But if you understand why they are not doing what you think should be doing, that is the first step, that respect and that understanding, that is the first step to addressing the challenges and then getting them to transit. So I think this is a major challenge to me for the scaling up issue, is to adapt a systems approach and to adapt a inclusive continuum approach. If you do this, then there is a hope and there is a potential for scaling up. And before I end, let me just end 4, I think, challenges which I see for scaling up. One is the availability of bio inputs on a scale, quality tested bio inputs on a scale. Right now, no testing mechanisms exist, and scaling up of quality is still a far dream. So that's one part. The second is markets and consumer behavior, etc. Raskum should be selling in every Amul parlor. It should not be confined to one conference hosted by IRMA. Millets should be. The third is the adoption of an overall systems approach. And the fourth to me is also evidence-based extension, because I've gone to too many natural farmers who are saying, listen, you've given me this biopesticide, when am I supposed to spray it? What is the quantity? What is the dosage? What works for my crop? I want to do this. So the specificity, the granularity, it's not enough to say do biocompost or biopesticide. For every farmer, every crop, every season, they need details. And unless these details are available, farmers will not adopt. And for that, you need to collect evidence, which is very granular. So once that is there, then I think these challenges of scaling up will be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Apurva Bhai, for sharing insights on issues of scaling. I think there are panels that will be considering it. And you raised this important point on the need for transitions in thinking, which is the point on which I would like to now invite Sri Bharat Bhushan Tyagi ji, who will talk to us about these ideas of the importance of thinking in this whole process of moving towards a new paradigm for sustainable transitions. Tyagi ji's Hindi is so lovely to listen to. आइए
सभागार में उपस्थित मेरे सभी स्नेही मित्रों को मैं हृदय से साधुवाद करता हूं, प्रणाम करता हूं। आप स्वीकार करेंगे, मुझे अच्छा लगेगा। मेरे स्नेही मित्र यहाँ पर कपिल भाई, सर्वदमन जी और मेरी बहन भी है ऋचा कुमार, और मैं आज आदरणीय शंभू सर के नेतृत्व में इन सारी चीज़ों को देखा। शाह साहब को भी मैं हृदय से साधुवाद करता हूं, और पूरे मंच के साथ साथ पूरे सभागार में सभी को हृदय से प्रणाम करते हुए मैं कुछ मुद्दे आपके सामने रखना चाहूँगा। वैसे मैं एक प्रयोगकार कृषक हूँ। भाषा में कहीं आपको कुछ अलग से ना लग जाए तो ऐसा कुछ ना हो। हिंदी बोलने का अभ्यास है, कुछ अंग्रेजी के शब्द बीच में ज़रूर आएंगे। कोशिश करूँगा कि आप तक वो बात चली जाए, क्योंकि इस समय भारत में ऑर्गेनिक और प्राकृतिक खेती का जो अंतर्द्वंद है, अब ये इंस्टीट्यूशनल मोड में आगे बढ़ रहा है। तो ऐसी स्थिति में हम इसको कैसे आगे लेकर चलेंगे? जब तक गेंद किसानों के हाथ में थी तो ज़्यादा सक्सेस हम नहीं हुए, लेकिन जब संस्थान इस देश में और यूनिवर्सिटियाँ इस क्षेत्र में आएंगी तो बड़े काम होने की संभावना है। इसलिए मेरे कुछ सुझाव बिंदु हैं जिनको मैं प्रस्ताव के रूप में आपके सामने रखूँगा। मेरी बहुत सारी बात आप लोगों ने कह दी है, कुछ थोड़ा और ध्यान आकर्षण करा दूँ। 2-4 मिनट ज़्यादा भी ले लूँ तो मुझे क्षमा करेंगे। पहला मुद्दा ये है कि मैंने एक 40 वर्ष के अनुभव से देखा कि इस धरती पर समस्या के लिए जो भी प्रयास हुआ उसमें चूक मानव की है, जीव जानवरों की नहीं है। ऐसा मुझे आभास हुआ। तो मेरे मन में सवाल उठने लगा कि समस्या का कारण तो मनुष्य है और उसको ठीक हम गाय से करेंगे तो ये कोई बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं है। अब ध्यान से सुन लेंगे इस बात को। यूनिवर्सिटियों को मूल समस्या कहाँ है उस पर काम करने की ज़रूरत है। प्रोटोकॉल की वस्तु को गाय, नक्षत्र और कृषि की कोई इनपुट मैनेजमेंट नहीं होता। हमको ह्यूमन मैनेजमेंट की दिशा में ज़्यादा काम करने की ज़रूरत है। कहीं धोखा ना हो जाए कि हम लोग कहीं रिसर्च के आधार पर कमज़ोर पड़ जाएं। और यहाँ पर मैं देख रहा हूँ कि 4 तंत्र एक साथ बैठे हैं। अनुसंधान के लोग भी हैं, शोध के लोग भी हैं, और शिक्षा और नीतिगत विषयों पर भी बात करने वाले लोग हैं। तो मेरा मन बहुत खुशी से भर जाता है कि मैं अपनी बात को सही लोगों तक पहुँचाऊँ। और मैं इरमा में पहली बार आया हूँ, सुनता रहा बहुत, कभी जाऊँगा, तो आज सौभाग्य मिला है। इन बातों को बिंदुवार रखते हुए मैं पहला बिंदु रखूँगा कि इस देश को इस समय समीक्षा की आवश्यकता है, और जो भी साथी यहाँ पर नोट कर सकते हैं तो ज़रूर लिखें। समीक्षा का मतलब है समस्या कहाँ पर थी और उसके साथ मूल्यांकन जरूर करें कि उसको ठीक कैसे किया जा सकता है। तो जब हम समस्या को और सही को दोनों को साथ साथ देखते हैं तो हमको एक सही तस्वीर उभर कर आती है। और कई बार हम गलती को भी सही मानकर आगे बढ़ते हैं तो वो गलती खुद में दिखने लगती है और यहाँ से मेरे अंदर सही के प्रति जिज्ञासा का उदय होता है। तो इस समय देश में वैचारिक एकरूपता की जरूरत है, ये शोध का विषय है। हम अपने अपने तरीकों पर, अपने अपने स्पेशलाइजेशन पर एक युद्ध की तरह बात कर रहे हैं, जिसमें से साथियों कुछ निकलेगा नहीं, क्योंकि तरीका हमेशा अलग अलग रहेंगे। जीने के लिए समझना, सीखना और करना 3 अलग अलग पार्ट हैं। सीखने और करने में हम अलग अलग रहेंगे, लेकिन समझने के पार्ट पर कभी अलग अलग हो नहीं पाते, क्योंकि जिस दिन हमको संबंध का पता लगता है, व्यवस्था का पता लगता है, तो धरती की पूरी व्यवस्था और मनुष्य के साथ पूरा संबंध एक जैसा ही दिखता है। ऐसा मैंने अपने जीने में अनुभव किया है। मैं उसी बात को आपके सामने बोलने आया हूँ। मैं कोई किताब नहीं पढ़ के आया हूँ। एक जिंदगी की सच्चाई और उसके साथ जो संघर्ष हुआ वो भाषा मैं आपके सामने प्रस्तुत कर रहा हूँ। ये मेरा प्रस्ताव है, जांचना आपका काम है, मेरी किसी बात को माना ना जाए। मैं बात को जोड़ कर देखता हूँ कि समझ का स्तर आपका और मेरा एक ही जैसा है, करने के स्तर पर फर्क जरूर आ जाएगा। तो मैं फर्क वाले स्तर पर ज़्यादा बात नहीं करूँगा। तो समीक्षा में मैं 3 मुद्दों पर समीक्षा आप जरूर करें। एक तो आर्थिक, दूसरा प्राकृतिक और तीसरा सामाजिक। हमारे विश्वविद्यालयों को इस प्रकार 3 मुद्दों पर गहरी समीक्षा की जरूरत है। देश में आर्थिक असंतुलन का कारण क्या है, प्राकृतिक असंतुलन का कारण क्या है और सामाजिक असंतुलन का कारण क्या है। यदि इन 3 असंतुलनों का हम एक कोई मेन कंटेंट निकाल पाए तो उस कंटेंट को यदि सही दिशा में ले जाना चाहें तो रास्ता आसान हो जाएगा। 1987 में मैं कन्वेंशनल फार्मिंग करते हुए मैंने देखा कि उत्पादन बढ़ने से मेरी इकोनॉमी नहीं बढ़ी है। तो उस समय मैंने पूरे दुनिया के वैज्ञानिकों से जो मेरे संपर्क में थे उनसे पूछना चाहा कि उत्पादन बढ़ने से इकोनॉमी क्यों नहीं बढ़ रही, ये मेरी समझ में नहीं आ रहा। तो उस समय मुझे कुछ लोगों ने कहा कि लिख कर देखो। तो पहली बार पता लगा कि मैं किसान होकर कुछ लिखता नहीं हूँ। इसलिए मेरा एक निवेदन है, हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी इस पर ध्यान दें कि हमारे किसानों को समझना भी सिखाएं और लिखना भी सिखाएं। वो ना कुछ समझते हैं ना कुछ लिखते हैं, वो बस करते हैं। तो इस दृष्टि में यदि हमारा ध्यान जाएगा तो ये शोध का विषय है। हमने लिखा तो हमको पता लगा कि जो इनपुट बेस एग्रीकल्चर है, और चूंकि मैं थोड़ा अर्थशास्त्र की दृष्टि से मजबूत आदमी हूँ तो मैंने देखा कि इनपुट का तो बड़ा खेल है दुनिया में। इनपुट में तो सीधी एक परिभाषा है कि हमको इनपुट कम और आउटपुट ज़्यादा है, और उसके लिए हमको 3 फंडे हैं, मेहनत कम कैसे हो, खर्च कम कैसे हो और समय कम कैसे लगे और ज़्यादा कैसे मिल जाए। तो लूट मचाने का एक फंडा है। तो ये प्रकृति के साथ तो नहीं चलेगा। तो मैंने उसका रिजल्ट देखा, मुझे पता लगा कि सारी एग्रीकल्चर की इनपुट का जो सेंटर है वो बाजार बन गया। मैं ट्रैक्टर से जुताई करता हूँ, ट्रैक्टर का सारा केंद्र जुताई है, बाजार है। मैं सिंचाई करता हूँ, उसका सारा केंद्र, उसकी मशीन, टूल, ईंधन, मरम्मत, पुर्जा, सब कुछ बाजार है। रासायनिक खाद बाजार से, बीज बाजार से, दवाई बाजार से। मुझे पहली बार एहसास हुआ 1987 में कि खेती मैं नहीं करता हूँ, बाजार करता है। दूसरी बार मैं पहुंचा, मैं अपने उत्पादन को बाजार में बेचने गया तो कीमत बाजार ने लगाई और अपनी शर्तों पर खरीदा। और वहाँ एक खेल है डिमांड और सप्लाई। किसी भी देश और दुनिया की सरकार उनको बदल नहीं सकती। ये मानसिक चेंज के साथ होगा। ये इकोनॉमी का एक फंडा है। तो दूसरी बड़ी मौत ये थी कि मैं कभी भी कुछ भी पैदा कर लूँ, बेचते समय मेरे पास कोई अधिकार नहीं है। तीसरा, जब मैं उसको कंज्यूमेबल बनाता हूँ, उसका उपभोग करने जाता हूँ, तो पता लगा कि वो उसके लिए प्रोसेसिंग का काम भी बाजार करता है और मूल्य संवर्धन के बाद में मनमानी कीमत लगाता है और उसके बाद में उपभोक्ता को भी लूटता है। और पता लगा मैं किसान होकर भी लूटा और मैं उपभोक्ता होकर भी लूटा। ये मेरे गांव की दुर्दशा है। इसको मैं एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर में गांव की दुर्दशा का मुख्य कारण मानता हूँ। ये हमने देखा। इससे क्या नुकसान हुआ इससे ये नुकसान हो गया कि हमारी सारी इकोनॉमी बाजार सेंट्रिक हो गई और हमारे पूरे गांव के कार्य के स्तर पर जो समझौते थे, काम करने के जो हमारे गांव के समझौते थे, वो साथियों मेरे सामने टूटे हैं। मैंने अपने गांव को बिखरते देखा है अपने सामने, और आज तक भी हम समेट नहीं पाए। जब सारी चीज़ें बाजार में मिलने लगी तो हमारे काम के स्तर पर जो समझौते थे, नाई बाल काटता था, कुम्हार बर्तन बनाता था, हमारा लोहार कुछ करता था, वो सारी टूटे। इसलिए कार्य के समझौते भी नहीं चलेंगे। समझौते कहीं ना कहीं समझ के स्तर पर बनाने होंगे, और समझ के समझौतों को कैसे आगे बनाना होगा इसके लिए भी विचार करने की जरूरत है। हम पुराने इतिहास को लौटाकर पुराने गांव की तस्वीर का उदाहरण दे देकर कोई नई संकल्पना करेंगे तो नहीं होगा। इस आधुनिकवाद में हमको विज्ञान, गति और शोध के साथ आगे बढ़ना है। ये एक महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा सामने आया, और एक बड़ी बात यह हुई कि किसान अकेला रह गया, वो परिवार से भी टूट गया और उस समाज से भी टूट गया। और इसको सहसा बहुत मजबूती के साथ, चूंकि आप चेयरमैन हैं, इस कंटेंट को बारीकी से शोध करने की जरूरत है कि जब हमने किसान को अकेला करके छोड़ दिया, ना उसकी कोई डेफिनेशन है, ना वो परिवार के लिए जीता है, ना समाज के लिए जीता है, तो राष्ट्र के लिए नंबर कहाँ से आएगा? वो तो अकेला तनाव में, इस समय नशे और मनोरंजन के लत में शिकार है। उस देश की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ। तो यहाँ सवाल ये हुआ कि अब हमने 10,000 फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी बनाने का टारगेट रख दिया और किसान अकेला है, वो कैसे सहकारिता को समझेगा? फिर कहीं उल्टा पलटा होगा। ऐसी स्थिति में हमको प्राकृतिक स्तर के साथ साथ में और सामाजिक स्तर का भी ठीक ठीक मूल्यांकन करने की जरूरत है। फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर कंपनी इस समय एक नया टूल है, बहुत अच्छा टूल है देश के लिए उभरने के लिए। उस पर गहरा काम हो, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगेगा। मैं IRMA के साथ नहीं, पूरे देश के लिए अर्पित हूँ। मेरी ड्यूटी कहीं भी लगाएंगे तो मैं सैनिक की तरह आपके साथ रहूँगा। मैंने अपने परिवार की बहुत सुंदर व्यवस्था बनाई हुई है। मेरे परिवार में सारी महिलाएं प्रोसेसिंग का काम करती हैं, छोटा बेटा सर्टिफिकेशन का काम देखता है, बड़ा मार्केटिंग देखता है, मैं प्रोडक्शन भी देखता हूँ और मैं ट्रेनिंग भी देता हूँ। और पूरे महीने परिवार में 200-300 लोगों का आवागमन रहता है और बहुत सुंदरता से हम पूरे देश का काम कर सकते हैं। मैंने देखा यही किसान का परिवार है। किसान का परिवार एक अपने आप में बड़ी शुद्ध यूनिवर्सिटी है। पूरे कार्यक्रम वहीं होते, इकोनॉमी भी अच्छी हो रही है, सब अपने में मस्त हैं, कोई झंझट नहीं है, कोई तनाव नहीं है। ऐसे परिवार की कल्पना से मैं राष्ट्र की समृद्धि का एक आकार उभरते हुए देखता हूँ, इसलिए आपसे निवेदन करने के लिए आया हूँ। तो ऐसी स्थिति में प्राकृतिक असंतुलन के मुद्दे पर आपने देख लिया, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग हो रही है, डाइवर्सिफिकेशन, इकोलॉजी, दुनिया भर की चीज़ें हैं, उनकी मैं ज़्यादा चर्चा नहीं करूँगा। सामाजिक स्तर पर ज़रूर एक चर्चा करूँगा आपसे। जब मैंने देखा कि किसान तो अकेला है और उसके चारों तरफ, जब हम आज़ादी के बाद में हरित क्रांति हमने अपनाई तो हम परिस्थितियों से चले थे साथियों। हमारे पास ना तो कृषि तंत्र था, ना हमारे कोई मंत्रालय थे, सही ढंग से काम करने का तरीका भी नहीं था। देश में उत्पादन कम था, ज़्यादा था मुझे पता नहीं, लेकिन भुखमरी का कारण केवल उत्पादन नहीं था, हमारे पास में कोई वितरण प्रणाली और कोई संस्थान जैसी चीज़ें भी नहीं थीं। आज़ादी के बाद में हमने हरित क्रांति के नाम से जो प्रयास किए, उसमें मंत्रालय से लेकर अनुसंधान केंद्र, शिक्षा, विद्या, सब कुछ को लेकर पूरा तंत्र, तकनीकी और विज्ञान, बैंक और सामाजिक सेक्टर ने भरपूर काम किया और हम हरित क्रांति में सफल हुए। आज मेरी सामने चुनौती ये है और मेरी पीड़ा का भी विषय है, मैं आपसे निवेदन करने आया हूँ कि इतने बड़े तंत्र की उपेक्षा करके हम केवल गाय और गोबर को केंद्र में रखकर कौन सी तरक्की कर लेंगे, कौन सा परिवर्तन कर लेंगे। इसलिए सामाजिक असंतुलन ना हो, इस समय अनुसंधान, शोध, शिक्षा और नीति और सारे देश के किसान और जितनी भी सिविल सेक्टर्स हैं, वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं, उन सबको मिलकर कहीं ना कहीं एक रूपता में खड़े होने की जरूरत है। भारत के पास पूरे विश्व को संदेश देने का बहुत बड़ा अवसर है। हम क्या कर रहे हैं? हम अपने अपने तर्क में बढ़ रहे हैं और अपने अपने को विशेषज्ञ मानकर अपनी चीज़ को बड़ी और सामने वाले को छोटी कर रहे हैं। जिस भी किसान ने, जिस भी इस धरती पर किसी भी प्रयोगकार ने, किसी भी वैज्ञानिक ने धरती के साथ जुड़कर जो काम किया है, साथियों, उनको नित नित साधुवाद करने की ज़रूरत है और उन सभी चीज़ों को कंपाइल करके हमको कहीं एक रूपता के साथ आगे बढ़ने की ज़रूरत है। हम तर्क में ना फंसें, कम से कम एग्जिस्टेंस के साथ आगे बढ़ने की कोशिश करें। ये हमारी यूनिवर्सिटियों के लिए एक बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा है कि हम पूरे देश में कंटेंट को एक रूपता में कैसे लाएं। इस पर एक रिसर्च ज़रूर हो और मैं IRMA से कहूँगा कि ग्राम विकास के केंद्र में इस पर एक तो शोध पत्र लिखा जाए, गंभीरता से बात है। कहाँ कहाँ कंटेंट डाइवर्ट होता है, डाइल्यूट होता है, उसको हम मेन स्ट्रीम में कैसे लेकर आएँ। यदि हम बहुत बड़ा बदलाव चाहते हैं तो उसके लिए हमको ये काम बेसिक लाइन में करने की ज़रूरत है। ये आपसे मेरा निवेदन। अब मैं थोड़ा सा रिसर्च के मुद्दे, आप उसको ऑर्गेनिक कहो, नेचुरल कहो, मुझे तो पता नहीं, ज़्यादा झगड़े समझ में नहीं आते। कई बार तो अब नाम लेने से भी डर लगने लगा है, पता नहीं ये समाज कौन से पाले में खड़ा कर दे और क्या कहने लगे। तो ऐसी स्थिति में बड़ी तकलीफ के साथ मैं आपसे कहूँगा कि नेचर के कुछ परफेक्ट रूल्स हैं जो मनुष्य ने नहीं बनाए, उनको बोलते हैं हम एग्जिस्टेंशियल रूल्स। और वो जो एग्जिस्टेंस रूल्स हैं वो कोएग्जिस्टेंस में काम करते हैं। मतलब कोएग्जिस्टेंस हमारा और आपका बनाया हुआ नहीं है, वो स्वयं स्फूर्त है, नित्य निरंतर है, जो कब से चल रहा है और कब तक चलेगा हमारे पास इसके लिए केवल अनुमान है, हमारे पास कोई टाइम फ्रेम नहीं है। उसमें 4 बेसिक प्रिंसिपल्स हैं। जब कोएग्जिस्टेंस को हम देखते हैं तो उसमें सबसे पहला प्रिंसिपल है कि यहाँ पर कंप्लीमेंट्री सिस्टम है, कहीं भी धरती, पेड़ पौधे और पशु पक्षियों में विरोध नहीं है। कोई भी एक क्रिया, मैं पिछले 15 वर्ष के शोध की बात मैं आपको कह रहा हूँ, मैं कृषक के रूप में 15 वर्ष से शोध कर रहा हूँ। खुरपी वाला किसान हूँ मैं वो खुरपी वाला किसान हूँ जिसकी खुरपी साल भर में 2 खुरपी घिस जाती हैं, 4-4 इंच का लोहा घिस देता हूँ मैं ज़मीन के अंदर, क्योंकि मैंने किसान के सम्मान को देखा है। तो पहला मुझे पता लगा कि यहाँ तो कंप्लीमेंट्री है, इसलिए यहाँ हमको मित्र कीट, शत्रु कीट, ये अच्छा, ये बुरा, ये तुलना, ये प्रतिक्रिया, ये करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है। धरती, पेड़ पौधे और पशु पक्षी तीनों मिलकर ही यहाँ पर एक सस्टेनेबिलिटी को बनाए हुए हैं। इसी में जो सिस्टम है सॉइल की फर्टिलिटी का भी यही है। मतलब यहाँ पर हर क्रिया का नियम है, हर क्रिया का नियंत्रण है और हर क्रिया का संतुलन है। बड़ी सुंदर व्यवस्था है, आप इस पर शोध करिए। बड़े मैं हृदय से कह रहा हूँ कपिल भाई, इसको ज़रूर नोट करें। बार बार कभी आपके दर्शन करने का मौका मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा, लेकिन आपके अंतरंग में और हमारे अंतरंग में तो कोई अंतर नहीं है। इसलिए ज़रूर विश्वविद्यालय में कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री एक्शन क्या है कि वो नियम, नियंत्रण, संतुलन में काम करता है और उसका प्रतिफल बहुत सुंदर है। जिसने मुझे जगाया वो प्रतिफल है कि वहाँ पूरकता, उपयोगिता और समृद्धि है। अर्थात जब हम लीनियर इकोनॉमी को सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी में ट्रांसफर करने की बात करते हैं तो समृद्धि का सूत्र केवल और केवल धरती की व्यवस्था में है। एक दाने से 1000 दाने पैदा होते हैं और एक खेत में अनेक फसल पैदा होती हैं। ये विज्ञान हमने समझा। ये विज्ञान शोध का विषय है कि एक दाने से कैसे अनेक दाने पैदा होते हैं और एक खेत में कैसे अनेक फसल लगाई जा सकती हैं। इसको कोएग्जिस्टेंस को हमको समझना है। इसके लिए हमें सेकंड लॉ है जो उसको लॉ ऑफ डाइवर्सिफिकेशन, विविधता का नियम मनुष्य का बनाया हुआ नहीं है। ये मनुष्य को समझना है कि धरती, पेड़ पौधे और पशु पक्षियों में इतनी विविधता है जिसका गणित आपके पास नहीं है। उसको कहीं जमीन के अंदर देखें, जमीन के बाहर देखें, हम उसके समानांतर अपनी फूड चेन के लिए, अपनी इकोनॉमी के लिए, अपनी सस्टेनेबिलिटी के लिए हमको क्रॉप पैटर्न कैसे तैयार करना है, ये महत्वपूर्ण रिसर्च का मुद्दा है यूनिवर्सिटियों का। क्रॉप पैटर्न बनाने का, जिसमें क्या हो जाता है, जिसमें मल्टी लेयर क्रॉपिंग सिस्टम लागू होता है। कैसे? मल्टी क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न में। तो पैटर्न हमारा मल्टी क्रॉपिंग हो, प्रोडक्शन हमारा मल्टी लेयर। इसको दिखाने के लिए क्या करेंगे हम? इसको दिखाने के लिए तीसरा नियम है प्रोडक्शन डेंसिटी। जमीन की नापतोल हम लंबाई और चौड़ाई में कर सकते हैं, लेकिन जमीन को जब हम उत्पादन की दृष्टि से देखेंगे तो वो लंबाई और चौड़ाई के साथ में गहराई और ऊंचाई में भी दिखेगी। ये किसानों को दिखने लगे और मैंने देखा है कि 50 फुट ऊपर तक काम करती है और हम गेहूं, धान और गन्ने में 10-12 फुट तक ही रह जाते हैं। तो प्रोडक्शन डेंसिटी को बढ़ाना, इससे बड़ा काम होगा कि जमीन में जो तापमान बढ़ने का या सतह का जो असंतुलन है, जो तापदाब नमी का असंतुलन है, जहाँ कीड़े बीमारियों का प्रकोप बढ़ रहे हैं, जहाँ खरपतवारों के प्रकोप बढ़ रहे हैं, इनमें नियंत्रण होने लगता है। ये मैंने जांचा है। मैं अपनी बात जांच के आधार पर आपके सामने रख रहा हूँ, शोध आपको करना है। चौथा जो मुद्दा है वो बड़ा गंभीर है, वो है कि वो इकोलॉजी को देखना, नैसर्गिक संतुलन। अब देश को बांट दिया हमने, कितना 9 इकोलॉजिकल जोन है। अब इकोलॉजिकल जोन हमने क्यों बनाए? वो पॉलिटिकल हैं, वो प्रोडक्शन बेस हैं, वो स्टेट के हैं, सेंटर के हैं, कोई उनका माई बाप है क्या? उनमें क्या करेंगे हम? हमारे पास में कोई परफेक्ट रूप में प्रोडक्शन प्लान नहीं है। तो मेरा ये निवेदन है कि पहले एग्रो इकोलॉजी को हम इकोनॉमी के साथ जोड़ दें, क्योंकि सस्टेनेबल इकोनॉमी के लिए एग्रो इकोलॉजी का बहुत बड़ा महत्व है। और इकोलॉजी क्या है? तहाँ पर हम वर्षामान, तापमान और ऋतुमान 3 के आधार पर वहाँ की फसलों को, वहाँ के जीव जानवरों को जेनेटिक कोड में पहचान सकें और जेनेटिक कोड में सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस से हम उत्पादन की तरफ उनको ले जाएं। हमें बहुत ज़्यादा हाइब्रिडाइज करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बिल्कुल ज़रूरत नहीं है। हमको सिलेक्शन प्रोसेस से, मेरे 8 एकड़ का सारे ज़मीन है मेरे पास में और 20 गाय भी मेरे पास, और मैंने देखा है कि 20 गायों को लेकर एक गांव के प्रधान के गले में वो गाय फंसी रहती हैं और मेरे परिवार में वो 20 गाय मेरे पास सुरक्षित हैं। उनका चारा भी उसी फार्म से 8 एकड़ में आप आएंगे, देखेंगे तो खुश हो जाएंगे। गाय भी मस्त हैं और मैं भी मस्त हूँ। क्यों? क्योंकि हमने उपमा देकर गायों को नहीं, उपयोगिता की दृष्टि से। तो अब ये जरूर नोट कर लें, हम प्रकृति को उपमा की दृष्टि से ना देखें, उपयोग की दृष्टि से देखें। गाय, देसी गाय नहाना नहीं चाहती, हम 10 वर्ष से उसको नहलाते ही नहीं। नहाने वालों की गाय इतनी सुंदर नहीं जितनी गाय हमारी सुंदर है। वो शैम्पू लगाते लगाते ही मर गए। हमने उनको खुला पानी छोड़ दिया, खुले जंगल की तरह उनको छोड़ दिया। उनको समय पर चारा 2-3 बार देते हैं और आप देखोगे तो कितनी मस्ती के साथ, क्योंकि हमारे मन में उनकी उपयोगिता थी, हमारे मन में व्यापार नहीं था। व्यापार का मतलब जब तक गाय दूध देगी तब तक मेरी, जब दूध देगी तो खोल देंगे, अब किनकी होगी, ये सड़क पे घूमेंगी। ये मानसिकता मनुष्य की है। परिवार ने समझा कि गाय की उपयोगिता में दूध भी है, दूध से बनी हुई परिवार की उपयोगी वस्तु भी है, गोबर भी है, पेशाब भी है, उसका वंश परंपरा भी है और उसका प्रकृति के साथ में एक सानिध्य भी है। हम इन सारे फैक्टर पर यदि काम करते हैं तो पशुपालन की उपयोगिता दिखती है। इसी प्रकार से हमने एलाइड सेक्टर में जो भी काम हो सकते थे उनको खेत पे लेके चले और एक कार्यक्रम की रूपरेखा बनी और बहुत सुंदरता से। तो मैंने आपसे ये कहा कि इसमें प्रक्रिया के लिए भी 4 नियम आप ज़रूर उनको भी शोध करें। लॉ ऑफ डिस्टेंस, जैसे ही किसानों को हम डाइवर्सिफिकेशन में कहेंगे कि आप खेत में 10 फसल लगा सकते हो, उसको दूरी का नियम पता ही नहीं, वो स्पेस मैनेजमेंट जानता ही नहीं। ये साइंटिफिक रिसर्च का काम है। अब हम दूरी को कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे? हम दूरी को किताब में लिख देंगे कि 10 मीटर पर लगा दो, 20 मीटर पर लगा दो। ये अब तक हमने किया है, हम गणित जानते हैं। हमको दूरी का नियम समझाना है। व्यवस्था के अर्थ में संबंध की पहचान, कितनी दूरी पर हमको रहना है। कोविड के समय में मुझे इसकी डेफिनेशन क्लियर हुई कि ये 2 गज दूरी कौन सी दवाई थी। ये 2 गज दूरी कोई दवाई थोड़ी थी, पर यह हुआ ऐसा कि हम आकर्षण विकर्षण में जी रहे हैं। जब तक संबंध को नहीं समझते हैं तो या तो बहुत नज़दीक आ जाते हैं या बहुत दूर हो जाते हैं। जैसे उदाहरण के लिए, वो अन्यथा कोई ना ले, पति पत्नी में यदि ज़्यादा लगाव हो गया तो उंगली पकड़े रहते हैं और जो लड़ाई बच गई तो 10-10 मीटर दूर हो जाते हैं। तो ये जो आकर्षण विकर्षण है, ऐसे ही लाभ की दृष्टि में आकर्षण विकर्षण है। ये धरती जब तक, खेत मुझको जब दिखता है जब उत्पादन देता है, जब उत्पादन नहीं देता खेत ही नहीं दिखता। तो मैं दुनिया को किस नज़रिए से देख रहा हूँ, ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा है। तो परिस्थितियों के कारण हमने 2 चूक हमसे हुई हैं, उस पर गहरा काम हो। पहला कि हमने तकनीकी और विज्ञान को लिया और साथ साथ में दृष्टि को भी लिया। दृष्टि व्यापार की थी और तकनीकी और विज्ञान गति के लिए था। हमने तकनीकी और विज्ञान पर बहुत काम किया, गति का मूल्यांकन ही नहीं किया कि ये व्यापारवादी दृष्टि हमारी धरती को तबाह कर देगी, गांव को तबाह कर देगी, देश टूट जाएगा, बेरोजगारी आ जाएगी, इस पर काम ही नहीं किया। तो मेरा निवेदन है कि हम दृष्टि पर काम जरूर करें। और यहाँ बस अंत में मैं 3 शब्दों की एक व्याख्या आपके सामने रख रहा हूँ, उन पर आप गहरा काम करिए। समझना अलग वस्तु है, सीखना और करना अलग वस्तु है। सीखने और करने में विशेषज्ञता काम करती है, तकनीकी और विज्ञान काम करता है, लेकिन समझने के लिए ज्ञान की ही जरूरत है, उस दृष्टि की जरूरत है जहां मशीन काम नहीं करती तब भी रिश्ते बने रहते हैं। अर्थात धरती के साथ मेरा क्या संबंध है, इसको मशीन नहीं नाप सकती, पर मैं इस संबंध को समझता हूं। तो मशीन से ऊपर उठकर हम अपने रिश्तों में भाव को समझते हैं। ये मेरे मित्र हैं, तो मित्र एक भाव है जो समानता में और स्नेह भाव के रूप में बहता है। तो उसमें ये फर्क नहीं आता कि मंच से इन्होंने बोला कि मैंने बोला। जब प्रद्युमन भाई बोल रहे थे तो मैं सोच रहा था कि मेरी बहुत सारी बात तो ये कह ही रहे हैं, मुझे दोहराने की क्या जरूरत है। ये पूरकता है। हम पूरकता विधि से समझदारी पूर्वक ही आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। यदि समझ नहीं होगी तो पूरकता कभी भी आएगी ही नहीं। तर्क बना रहेगा, विरोध बना रहेगा, अलग अलग भागेंगे। इसलिए समझना, सीखना और करना, तीनों पर गहरा शोध हो। सीखना स्किल का पार्ट है, ये स्किल डेवलपमेंट है। जहाँ इंटरप्रेन्योरशिप की बात हम कर रहे हैं, ये सीखना है। और करना ये इम्प्लीमेंटेशन का पार्ट है, जहाँ पर हम प्रोडक्शन और प्रोडक्शन बैलेंस के साथ इकोनॉमी को देख रहे हैं, किसान को देख रहे हैं और राष्ट्र को देख रहे हैं। और इन दोनों को देखने का नज़रिया केवल और केवल समझना है। यदि समझना पूरा नहीं होगा साथियों, तो सीखना और करना बहुत पुण्य के रूप में नहीं फलेगा। मैं अन्य भाषा का प्रयोग तो नहीं कर सकता, भाषा की एक मर्यादा है, लेकिन इतना ज़रूर है कि बहुत प्रयास के बाद भी थकेंगे, पीड़ित होंगे और मुंह फिर फूटेगा और फिर रुक कर फिर देखेंगे। इस स्थिति में गुजरात की इस धरती से पूरे देश को कई संबंध मिले हैं। सहकारिता के लिए एफपीओ को लेकर 3-4 मुद्दों पर जरूर काम करिए। एफपीओ की फॉर्मेशन में एक रूपता कैसे आए, इस पर जरूर आप काम कर लें, नोट कर लें इनको जरूर साथियों, क्योंकि जो लोग एफपीओ पर काम कर रहे हैं उसको जरूर ध्यान दें। एफपीओ फॉर्मेशन अभी कोऑपरेटिव एक्ट में अलग गाना गाएगी और कंपनी एक्ट में अलग गाना गाएगी, इसलिए ये अलग अलग गाने गाने की बजाय इसको नेशनल लेवल पर एक पहचान दी जाए कि ये किसानों का संगठन है और ये किसान स्वयं स्फूर्त वृद्धि से आगे बढ़ने की मानसिकता से कैसे बढ़ेंगे। वो उनकी मानसिकता में व्यापार नहीं रहेगा, वो व्यवसाय करेंगे, वो धरती के साथ जिएंगे। इसलिए इनका रजिस्ट्रेशन कोड क्लियर तरीके से वेरीफाई किया जाए और ये गुजरात की धरती से ये आवाज़ उठनी चाहिए। ये राष्ट्र को संकेत जाएगा तो अच्छा होगा। दूसरा है एफपीओ फॉर्मेशन में कंप्लायंसेस बहुत सरल हों ताकि किसान समूह आसानी से समझ ले, और उनके जो बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स हैं और उनका जो सीईओ है वो एक ऐसा सिस्टम बनाया जाए जो प्रकृति की व्यवस्था के साथ जीना समझ ले। हम उनको कंपनी बनाकर ना छोड़ दें, नहीं तो वो खाद बीज दवाई बेचकर किसानों का शोषण करेंगे। एक समानांतर बाजार तंत्र हम खड़ा कर देंगे। तो ये कंप्लायंसेस वाला जो सिस्टम है इसको बहुत व्यवहारिक बनाए जाने की जरूरत है। तीसरा मुद्दा है उनका प्रोजेक्टिव एग्जीक्यूशन। इस पर कोई चर्चा नहीं हो रही। वो करेंगे क्या? वो खाद बीज दवाई बेचेंगे क्या? वो बनाए गए हैं कि कृषि के व्यवसाय को हम आगे लेकर कैसे चलें। व्यवसाय का मतलब है प्रोडक्शन मैनेजमेंट, क्वालिटी सर्टिफिकेशन, प्रोसेसिंग, ब्रांडिंग, पैकेजिंग और मार्केटिंग। इस टोटल एक्शन प्लान को इंटीग्रेट करने का नाम है प्रोडक्शन मैनेजमेंट। यही एग्जीक्यूशन है एफपीओ का। ये एग्जीक्यूशन पूरा होगा, किसानों के पास पैसा बहुत आएगा, एफपीओ मालदार होते जाएंगे। और चौथी बीमारी लग जाएगी कि इनका बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर के राजनीतिक झगड़े होंगे, फिर कौन अध्यक्ष बनेगा और कौन कोषाध्यक्ष बनेगा, और इस झगड़े में सारे डूबेंगे। इसके लिए फिर क्या है, इनका इंटरनल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मैनेजमेंट कैसे होगा। ये जो इंटरनल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मैनेजमेंट है इसमें 2-3 पार्ट हैं। पहला पार्ट है कि इनके रेजोल्यूशन में रखा जाए कि हम हमेशा योग्यता का मूल्यांकन करेंगे, इसलिए कभी भी चुनाव प्रक्रिया को नहीं लागू करेंगे, चयन प्रक्रिया से चलेंगे। तो चयन और चुनाव के मुद्दे को नहीं, तो पूरा इधर राजनीतिकरण हो जाएगा। मैं राजनीति को बुरा नहीं मानता हूं, अधूरी है, पूरा करना है आप सब लोगों को मिलकर। ये एक बढ़िया शुरुआत है। तो एफपीओ को एक बढ़िया परफेक्ट टूल के रूप में हम, दूसरा एक मैंने किया कि उसको चुनाव से नहीं जोड़ेंगे, चयन प्रक्रिया से जोड़ेंगे। चयन प्रक्रिया में योग्यता का मूल्यांकन होता है और चुनाव प्रक्रिया में मत का मूल्यांकन होता है। मत में योग्यता नहीं होती है तो योग व्यक्ति के मत की भी वही कीमत और एक अनाड़ी के व्यक्ति की भी वही कीमत, एक भंगड़ी भी उसकी वोट की भी वही कीमत और एक राष्ट्रपति की भी वही कीमत। ये दुर्दशा एफपीओ में ना हो, इसके लिए स्वतंत्र मेमोरेंडम बनाया जाए। दूसरा, इसकी बैलेंस शीट करोड़ों में ना चली जाए। ये करोड़पति जरूर बने हैं, ये 10-20 करोड़ 100 करोड़ बने, हमें कोई आपत्ति नहीं, लेकिन इनकी बैलेंस शीट में एक चीज़ दर्ज होनी चाहिए कि हमने कितने परिवारों को समृद्ध परिवारों में ट्रांसफ़र किया, अर्थात कितने परिवारों की इकोनॉमी बढ़ी। और इकोनॉमी का वैल्यूएशन केवल पैसे से नहीं करेंगे, तन मन धन का बजट बनाएंगे। उनकी मानसिक चेतना क्या है। मैंने 60,000 लोगों को बी कीपिंग सिखाई और 13 वर्ष के बाद एक झटके में बंद कर दिया। क्यों? मुझे पता लगा आदमी पैसे की कमी से दुखी नहीं है, समझ की कमी से दुखी है। और क्या पता लगा उसमें ये पता लगा कि जो मालदार होते रहे वो बीड़ी छोड़कर सिगरेट पीते रहे, देसी शराब छोड़कर अंग्रेजी पीते रहे, घरों में मुकदमेबाजी बढ़ती गई और आदमी बिखरते गए। क्या करेंगे ऐसी तरक्की का? हमें परिवार मूलक ग्राम स्वराज्य की कल्पना को साकार करना है। इसलिए 5 आयाम बैलेंस शीट के पार्ट हैं। शिक्षा संस्कार से जुड़ जाए, उत्पादन कार्य का मतलब श्रम होता है, हमने श्रम का सम्मान ही छोड़ दिया। स्वास्थ्य संयम से जुड़ जाए न्याय सुरक्षा के साथ, और हमारी बैंकिंग प्रणाली समृद्ध रूप में बढ़े। और वो दिन आए भारत में जिस दिन किसान बैंक से ऋण ले नहीं, बैंक को ऋण दे। इस कामना के साथ मैं आप सभी के साथ में कुछ प्रस्ताव रखने के लिए आया। मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा और मैं हमेशा इरमा के साथ और गुजरात के साथ काम करने के लिए आया हूँ। भावनात्मक रूप में भी रहूँगा और जैसा आप चाहेंगे वैसे भी रहूँगा। आपको हृदय से साधुवाद, थोड़ा समय ज़्यादा लिया उसके लिए क्षमा चाहूँगा। सभी को प्रणाम।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद भरत भूषण त्यागी जी, आपने बहुत सारे चीज़ बहुत कम समय में बताया है और हमको आमंत्रित किया है कि शोध अलग तरीके से करें, तो इसके ऊपर अगले 3 दिन में विचार भी होगी। I'd now like to invite Dr. Minesh Shah, the chairman of NDDB and IRMA, to kindly provide a special address.
आदरणीय श्री भारत भूषण त्यागी जी, डॉक्टर AR वसावी, डॉक्टर CK तिम्बाड़िया, श्री अपूर्वा ओझा, our great friend श्री सर्वदमन भाई, डायरेक्टर IRMA प्रोफेसर शंभू प्रसाद जी, डॉक्टर ऋचा कुमार from IIT Delhi, all distinguished guests, esteemed members of the academic community, participants of this conference, and student friends. It's a great honor to be here with an esteemed panel like this, and also getting involved in the inaugural function of this conference. As we all know, as we all gather here, we are so far, very proud of our achievements in agriculture development or food security. And it's time that I think we must remind ourselves of the challenges also. And, we have seen the challenges our agriculture landscapes is facing, not only in our country, I think, throughout the globe. And it's time that I think if we don't, focus on the challenges now and find some solutions, The challenges will soon surpass the benefits we have reaped from our modern agriculture practices. We all know that it was a necessity, the green revolution, transition, and it was all necessity of the time. But I think time has come that we address the problems of ecological imbalances, loss of biodiversity, depletion of vital resources like groundwater, fertile soil. I think all these speakers have spoken before me, and the impacts of climate changes. And all this is actually, if you see the center, it is the farmers. So all these challenges are actually faced by the farmer themselves and the marginalized communities what we have in our country. So, if you sum it up, whatever has been spoken and what you see around, I think we'll have to see that the current model of agriculture production cannot just continue, both from the ecological or the social standpoint, or like Bharat Bhushanji told, all the three angles which we explained very nicely, including the social one. So what we do? I think it is important for us to prioritize some of the sustainable agriculture practices. We have seen the natural and organic farming, how the different farmers themselves who have come here and shared their experiences of natural or organic farming, and how we can give these sustainable solutions to this global crisis. I am not the agriculture, with the agriculture background, but based on my, association with the livestock sector for more than 3 decades now, I think I can share some of the points, because the challenge for me is that I am the last speaker, and most of the points which I had thought that which I would speak, they are all covered. So I'll just, focus on few points. Number one, I think, which is highlighted by everybody is, although we have done a lot of work on research, we have a lot of knowledge available in the public domain, but we all will agree that the research has missed the application part. I think it was, again, very nicely explained. And it's important that we all come together, the academic institutions, the institutions like NDDB or GCMMF, who have a wide reach with the farmers, and also the farmers themselves. We have few of them present here. And, provide linkages with the farmers, create networks, extensive networks actually, and involve in the activities. As Bharat Bhushanji told, unko aapko samjhana padega. So I think that is one of the important things which we all have to do. The second thing is the innovation. I think अगर आपको ट्रांजिशन करना है एग्रीकल्चर में, तो बिना इनोवेशन के चलेगा नहीं. आपको इनोवेशन करना पड़ेगा फार्मर को सेंटर में रखते हुए. Because what we have learned at NDDB is there are researches available, there are innovations available. But unless फार्मर को अगर आप इंसेंटिवाइज नहीं करोगे, कोई भी रिसर्च है, कोई भी इनोवेशन है, फार्मर तैयार है उसको अडॉप्ट करने के लिए. But unless you have some incentivization for the farmer themselves, it's very unlikely that farmers will adopt it. So whenever we do research, whenever we have some innovation which we feel that it is the need of the hour, it must be adopted by the farmers. We'll have to see that how it will incentivize farmers. Transition tabhi hoga, nahi to hoga nahi. And I am speaking with the, I think, biggest transition what we saw in the livestock sector. You can say Operation Flood, you can say Amul model, you can say Anand model. How it was evolved and how it was different from the other models which we have seen. As again these speakers told, cooperative was at the core. So farmer were the member, farmer were the owner. So all the producer-owned institutions, you tell FPOs, you tell cooperatives, newer cooperatives or older cooperatives, whatever form you say, but farmer has to be at the center. Evolve them in all the entire value chain. I think Apurva Ojaji also, touch upon the value chain concept. So why our cooperatives I'm talking about the dairy sector, they are different? Because the farmers are handling almost all three major domains of the value chain. So it's the procurement of milk from the farmers, the processing of the milk which you get from the village level, and also the marketing of the milk to the consumers. So all major three legs, if you see, they are owned by the farmers. In fact, the cooperatives, if you see in developed countries like US, or I have seen in Europe as well, the cooperative there dealt with only one aspect, that is procurement of milk. Beyond that, you have the private players who are processing milk, and you have these modern, channels which are taking care of the marketing. So what happens as a result? The farmers get only 1/3, that is 30 to 35% of the consumer rupee going back to farmer. Whereas if you see our model or the Anand model, Operation Flood, set up this model, it was a replica of the Amul model. We are still able to give 75 to 80% of the consumer rupee back to producer. So what is important is, I think again I am saying, how do our models or our innovations or our research provide incentives to farmer. So that is one point which I would like to make. The other thing, I think we talked about the organic farming and why it is required and what can be done. I would like to highlight that the Government of India through the Union Cabinet itself has approved formation of 3 multi-state cooperatives. So having realized the benefit of cooperatives and how it is providing various type of services to the farmers, 3 important multi-state cooperative, one of which is on organic. So it's a National Cooperative Organic Limited. I happens to be the chairman, तो मैं IRMA और NDDB के साथ ऑर्गेनिक मल्टी स्टेट का भी chairman हूँ. The idea of this cooperative is to involve more and more farmers into organic farming, number 1. Number 2, sourcing organic products from these farmers, because as of now, like Bharat Bhushan ji told, farmer doesn't know if he has good products, organic products available, he has a limited reach in selling those products. He's unable to get the value of, the real value of the organic label which provides from the consumer like us. So the idea is to source as maximum possible as organic products from the farmers, involve all the farmer cooperatives of the country for these farmers to be member, and then those cooperative becomes the member of the apex level of multi-state cooperative. And with that objective, and also the other objective is to make good health for all of us, because we all know the problems of taking the products with the chemicals residues, with the pesticides residue. We all know those problems, and there's enough material now available in the public domain. And people are shifting, at least those who can afford, from these products to the organic products. So how do we provide good quality certified organic products? Because the dilemma with the consumer today is also to really know that whether this is real organic product or not. There are many, organic products have also actually mushroomed in our country. But for us to know which are the certified, tested organic products, so that is one of the other objective of this cooperative, is to provide certified, actual or real organic products to the consumer. The other cooperative is on seeds, because we are talking about agriculture, and let us accept that one of the major issue for the farmers, if he is not getting the good yield or good value for the crops which he is sowing, is the truthfully available certified seeds. I think the availability is a major concern, and we are again going to have a multi-state cooperative where again NDDB is a promoter, one of the promoter for the multi-state cooperative. And we will try to make farmers involved both in the production of seeds. So one set of farmers who have good amount of land available can produce the seeds. We will have a mechanism to process, certify these seeds, and then making available to the another set of farmers. We know we have more than 70% farmers as small and marginal, and maybe it is not possible for them to produce the seeds. They are dependent on the seeds from outside. So making available seeds to this family of farmers. So that is another cooperative. The third multi-state cooperative is on the exports, because if you have to give better yield or better value of money to farmers, large share of from the consumer rupee to farmers, it is, I think time has come to look beyond our country, try to export some of the products, get more price for the same commodities from the export market, and provide maximum share from, again, this realization back to the farmers. So these are the three, I think, multi-state cooperatives which we have formed. I am happy that Anand is actually in all three. So organic, both NDDB and GCMMF or Amul, they are the promoter. For the seed, as I told, NDDB is the promoter. And for the export, again, GCMMF and Amul is the promoter. So Anand is actually represented in all the three, which tells us that how cooperative movement started from here in the dairy industry, and how it is important now to go beyond milk into all other agriculture product and provide better income to the farmers. The last thing I think which I will say is on the manure management. गोबर पे काफ़ी बात हुआ. एनडीडीबी लेवल में हम पहले खाली मिल्क एक ऐसा कमोडिटी सोच रहे थे जिससे फार्मर को हम एक अच्छा इनकम दे सकते हैं. ऑल्दो कैटल और बफेलो डंग भी देते थे, बट कभी हमने सोचा नहीं कि फार्मर इसमें से भी पैसा कमा सकता है. I think 5-6 years back when our Prime Minister came here and he gave a slogan, waste to wealth, we also started thinking. हमने सबने देखा था कि गोबर में एक तो फ्यूल और फर्टिलाइजर पहले से है ही है, अवेलेबल है. हम सब ने कहीं ना कहीं in our childhood we have experienced that it is a source of fuel, it's a source of fertilizer. And then we started working on it. We are now providing a small 2 cubic meter biogas plant at the household level of the farmer. So the kind of the challenge we have in the methane emission and the ultimate damage, because it's a greenhouse gas and it's damaging the environment, we can take care of that by providing a small biogas plant. The methane which is emitted by the cattle can be used productively by the farmer for this for the family's cooking requirement. And the slurry which is left after the biogas is consumed is used as fertilizer in the farms. We started forming cooperatives again. तो हमने महिलाओं की, जिसको हमने बायोगैस प्लांट दिए थे, उसी की एक कोऑपरेटिव संस्थाएं बनाई हैं. सो इट्स ए ऑल वुमन खाद मंडली यू कैन से. वो स्लरी को उनसे खरीद लेते हैं, वही स्लरी में से प्रोम जो फॉस्फेट रिच ऑर्गेनिक मैन्योर है सॉलिड्स बनाते हैं, बेचते हैं. और जो लिक्विड रह जाता है उसको भी हम फार्मर्स में शुरू में हमने फ्री में देना चालू किया, क्योंकि उसमें भी माइक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट रिच है, बहुत ही माइक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट होते हैं. स्लोली फिर हमने उसका, जब फार्मर्स को लगा कि ये बेनिफिशियल है, थोड़ा थोड़ा पैसा करते गए. आज हम 75 पैसा ले रहे हैं, बट फार्मर्स अभी भी जितना भी क्वांटिटी में प्रोड्यूस होता है उसको खरीद रहे हैं, क्योंकि उनको उनकी अभी कीमत मालूम पड़ गई है कि इससे हमें क्या फ़ायदा हो रहा है. And we have extended this model beyond our pilot, which was in Anand, in 10 other states. One large-scale biogas plant we have installed in Varanasi, जहाँ पे हम 100 मेट्रिक टन गोबर खरीदते हैं आजू बाजू के गाँव से. 4 गाँव में से मिल जाता है. यूपी में इतना अच्छा कैटल पॉपुलेशन और सरप्लस डंग है, उसमें से 4000 क्यूबिक मीटर बायोगैस डेली बनता है. आज के दिन में इट इज़ ए लार्जेस्ट बायोगैस प्लांट in the country at one premises. 4000 क्यूबिक मीटर बायोगैस को हम सीधा बॉयलर में दे रहे हैं प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट में, मिल्क प्रोसेसिंग प्लांट में. डेली 1.5 लाख लीटर दूध हम इसी बायोगैस से हम उसको प्रोसेस करते हैं, और जो स्लरी बच जाती है उसको फिर से हम प्रॉम बनाते हैं, लिक्विड को यूज़ करते हैं, वो फार्मर्स तक देते हैं. वी हैव रिसेंटली टाइड अप विद GSFC. So now GSFC is marketing the organic fertilizer. In fact, all the fertilizer companies, chemical fertilizer companies, are now being told to replace at least 25% of their sale of chemical fertilizers by organic fertilizer. So this is, I think, one of the good initiative from the government part also, that how we can, we can convince farmer to replace 100%, but it will be very difficult, on the economic terms to begin with. Bharat Bhushan ji ne bhi bataya. But even if we are able to replace the chemical fertilizer in a progressive way by the organic one, I think we all will be successful in, in tackling some of the challenges which we are facing today. Thank you once again for inviting me. I think both at NDDB, IRMA and NCOL, as I told, which I represent as chairman, all three entities, will be very happy to learn the deliberations, what you have for three days now. And we will also be happy to partner with some of the initiatives where you need the support from these institutions, and also in reaching the farmers, wherever we have the reach. Thank you once again. Have a nice deliberations.
Thank you so much, Dr. Minesh Shah, for highlighting the new initiatives and the open invitation you provided to all of us here to participate and collaborate and extend the idea of natural and organic farming in domains that NEDB was not known for earlier, but NEDB and GCMMF organizations are getting into the space. I'd now like to invite Dr. Richa Kumar to share a brief vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Shambhu Prasad. On behalf of the Network of Rural and Agrarian Studies and all of the conference organizers, I wish to first of all extend my heartfelt thanks to the Director of IRMA, Professor Umakant Das, for supporting this very important set of conversations around the future of agriculture, not only in India, but globally, and especially around questions of rural lives and livelihoods. The director of IIT Delhi, who has also been a supporter of this initiative but cannot physically be present with us today, extends his warmest welcome to all of you and gives his wholehearted support to promoting further research and collaborative initiatives that can address the pressing emergencies facing agrarian India that were outlined by Professor Vasavi today. I am very grateful to Sri Sarvadaman Patel for sharing his personal journey with us, and also for the very evocative walk on his farm that we were all imagining as we were listening to him. And of course to Sri Bharat Bhushan Tyagiji for inspiring us with both his praxis as well as the set of principles that he outlined for us. I think he called a spade, cut to the heart of the matter, and there's a lot of work ahead for all of us in the next 3 days. I thank Dr. Minesh Shah, the chairperson of NDDB, for sharing with us information on the multi-state cooperative initiatives that have been started by the government, and also for extending his wholehearted support to these kinds of discussions and conversations. I extend a note of gratitude to Dr. C.K. Timbadia, Vice Chancellor of the Gujarat Natural Farming Sciences University, for again giving a warm invitation to all of us to collaborate and work with scientists in this space. I'd like to add just very briefly here that one of the most fundamental ideas that we had in mind as we brought this particular space together was to work towards getting scientists as well as farmers together as collaborators on the same platform. And we really hope that that is something that can take genesis at this conference, and we can go ahead with that. I'll add social scientists to the mix, but unless we have collaborative ways of putting together knowledge that is desperately required to figure out new ways of doing farming as well as figuring out rural livelihoods we have a long way ahead of us. Thank you to Shri Apurva Oza for sharing the work of civil society in bringing about specifically transformations in Gujarat. Professor Vasavi, whose vision, foresight, and passion for change sowed the seeds of the Network of Rural and Agrarian Studies in 2010. Along with her, Shri P.S. Vijay Shankar, earlier at Samaj Pragati Sayog, and then at Shivnadar University, and Professor Shambhu Prasad, of course, at IRMA. We began 13 years ago to promote research, support teaching, and engage with policymakers on rural and agrarian issues in India. And it's very heartening to see that original fledgling idea at a time when the rural had disappeared from people's minds entirely. We've done several conferences, mentoring workshops, policy engagements over the last 13 years, and it is now culminating in this very, very large scale 3-day conference on sustainable transitions, where we hope to be foregrounding issues both of social and epistemic justice. Thank you all of you for coming here this morning and participating with us, and we look forward to stimulating discussions over the next 3 days. And thank you to everybody on our panel here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Richa, for the warm words of thanks to all our dignitaries. We end the inaugural session with this and invite all of you for a lunch that is being prepared with a lot of love by the Raskum Mahila Producer Company. So we will reassemble after an hour, and we'll follow the odd-even policy. So the odd sessions will be held at the multipurpose hall, and the parallel sessions, which is the even number, which will be held at the ETDC lecture hall. So please do come and join us for lunch.